Kitty entered a bookstore to get some art supplies. At one point, she met an elf and accidentally stepped on his foot. Ow! The elf got very angry and teleported her to his fairy world. He said, "I'm Noah. Welcome to my world, you ill-mannered lady. If you can solve all my riddles, I'll help you find your way home. But if you don't, you'll turn into a tree and stay in this enchanted forest forever." So here comes the first riddle. Jen and Dobby have 4 daughters, and each of the daughters also has a brother. How many people are there in the family? Kitty cracked this riddle easily. What about you? The correct answer is 7. Noah took Kitty to the elf village. There they met Mr. Raspberry. He was very upset. Someone had stolen all berries from his trees. Noah suggested Kitty should find the thief. She questioned 4 suspects. Alice said, "I'm allergic to berries and stay away from them." Mia said that she'd been busy all morning helping her granny pick apples in her garden. Javier confessed that he had been on a secret date. He refused to reveal the name of his girlfriend. And Fiona said, "Are you kidding? I love my manicure too much to spoil it by picking berries." So, who's the thief? Alice. She's eating strawberry ice cream, which means she lied about her allergy. Next, Noah took Kitty for a walk through a magic field. There are 50 cows in this field and 28 chickens. How many didn't? Kitty figured this riddle out immediately. What about you? The correct answer is 30. It's a play on words. 20 cows ate chickens, which means that 30 cows didn't. The guy's next stop was a jewelry store. The local jeweler, Jonas, had just finished making a beautiful diamond necklace. He put it on the window so that everyone could admire his masterpiece and left for lunch. But when he returned, the necklace was gone. Surprise, surprise. Kitty questioned 3 suspects. The jeweler's assistant, David, said, "I was cleaning silver in the next room and didn't hear anyone enter the store." Billy, who owned a chocolate store 1 floor below, said, "I've spent the entire day with my wife. We've been celebrating our 15th anniversary." And Nina, the cleaning lady, said, "I've been cleaning the roof and singing when the crime happened. I didn't hear anything." Who's the thief? Billy. Look at his selfie with his wife. She's wearing the stolen necklace. Okay, but how did he steal it? He has a book, Magic Portals, on the shelf in his store. A postman found an elderly stargazer, Mr. Green, unconscious on the floor in his own house. Kitty questioned the key suspect, Mike. He was the only person who had been seen near Mr. Green's house the day before. Kitty asked him what he had been doing the previous night. Mike replied, "I spent the whole evening helping my friend to build a house. We finished late at night. I was passing by Mr. Green's house on my way home. I looked into the window and saw him lying on the floor. I was shocked and called the police." Kitty inspected the house and told the officer to arrest Mike. Why? Mr. Green was found on the ground floor, but his house doesn't have any ground floor windows, which means Mike couldn't see anything through the window. Noah took Kitty to his garden. He said that elf gardens were a little different compared to human ones. Kitty noticed 5 weird details right away. Can you see them too? It's snowing, but the flowers are blooming. The trees don't cast any shadows, but Kitty does. The rainbow in the sky is upside down. All squirrels are wearing suits. They usually don't do that in human forests. And this butterfly is talking on the phone. Noah invited Kitty for dinner, But they gotta cook it first. He gave Kitty an old recipe and said she could find all the ingredients in the garden. But the recipe is coded with the help of these symbols. Can you help Kitty find all the ingredients? Here comes the first one. It's a potato, and it's hiding over here. Here's the second ingredient. Olives. They're growing over there. What about this puzzle? Any ideas? Cabbage. It's over there. Can you recognize this one? Coconut. Here it is. The next one. Can you crack it? Pineapple. Great job. What about this puzzle? It's a carrot. And since it's an elf's garden, carrots are growing on trees. Can you crack this code? It's a peach, and Kitty can get it over there. Here comes the next ingredient. Any ideas? Pepper. It's over there. And last but not least, can you crack it? Broccoli. Great job! There's only one broccoli head in this garden, and it's hiding over there. After a delicious dinner, Noah offered Kitty to choose a guest room. He gave her 3 options, but only one of them was safe. Option number 1, a soft bed in the attic. Here's the second option, a cozy sofa in the basement. And the third option is a hammock on an open balcony. Unfortunately, mutant mosquitoes arrive every night. Their poison is safe for elves, but not for humans. Which room should Kitty choose? Springs stick out of the first bed. That doesn't look safe. And the sofa is full of bed bugs. Probably not the best company for a sleepover. So Kitty should choose the hammock. She can use this mosquito net to hide from the annoying insects. Next morning, Noah had an appointment. He offered Kitty to meet later in a fancy elf cafe. 4 waiters welcomed her when she arrived there, but one of them was fake. Can you guess who? See, this guy is a criminal. Noah was late, so Kitty ordered breakfast without him and went to the bathroom. The girl left her bag and her wallet on the table. Don't ask me why. When she came back, Noah was sitting at the table. Her food had arrived and her bag was still there, but the money was missing from her wallet. The restaurant security found 3 suspects. Noah said that he had just arrived. He hadn't seen anything suspicious. The waitress said, "I brought the food, but I didn't touch the wallet." The cleaner said that she'd wiped the table but hadn't touched the wallet. The guard found some fingerprints on the wallet, but they all belonged to Kitty. So, who stole the money? The cleaner. She had her gloves on. That's why she didn't leave any fingerprints. Kitty didn't have any elf money, so Noah offered to pay for her meal. But first, she had to crack this riddle. What begins with T, ends with T, and has T in it? Kitty solved this puzzle easily. What about you? The correct answer is a teapot. Kitty found a beautiful diamond tiara on the sink in the ladies' room while she was washing her hands. 3 elves showed up to claim it. Jim said, "This tiara belongs to my mother. We've been passing it on from generation to generation for ages. I noticed that it was gone after visiting the bathroom." Fiona said that she had won this tiara in a beauty contest. She even showed Kitty a picture. Jessica said, "If this tiara is missing one small emerald, then it's mine. I lost the gem at a party last summer." Kitty gave the tiara to Jessica. Why? Well, Jim wouldn't have been allowed in the ladies' room. The stones in Fiona's tiara are blue, not green, and Jessica was the only one who knew about the defect. Kitty entered an elf gift store to get some souvenirs for her family. 3 magic creatures entered the store after her. Everything was fine until, suddenly, Kitty heard a loud scream. She turned around and saw an elf lying face down on the table. She quickly called the police and reported the incident. An officer arrived and asked the other 3 customers what they'd been doing when they heard the scream. The goblin said, "I was picking out postcards from the front display." The mermaid was chasing the perfect souvenir mug. She dropped it when she screamed. The pieces were still on the floor, and the wizard said, "I was checking my horoscope on my phone. I'm a Venus by zodiac, you know. My astrologist promised that today would be the most peaceful day of my life." Yeah, right. Can you help Kitty find the criminal? It's the wizard. Venus isn't an astrological sign. The police arrested the wizard. He got so mad at Kitty that he turned her into a frog. Noah tried all the spells from his books, but nothing helped. So he took Kitty to the jail to beg for the wizard's help. There, Noah saw 2 prisoners. He knew for sure that only one of them would manage to escape. Ooh. The second one, he has a spoon without a handle. He must have used it to make a knife to open the door. The wizard agreed to lift his spell, but he had one condition. The guys had to crack his riddle. How many months of the year have 28 days? Can you help Kitty out? The correct answer is all of them. Noah took Kitty to the local magic store. Kitty asked him what he wanted to buy. Noah answered this way, "It's tall when it's young, and it's short when it's old." What is it? Have you guessed? It's a candle. Noah lit the candle and prepared to send Kitty back to the human world. But he had one last riddle for her. Kitty had to say a secret number code to get home. Here's a hint. The code contains 3 positive numbers. You can either add these numbers or multiply them. The result will be the same. What are these numbers? The correct answer is 1, 2, and 3. Great job!
Rachel had been dreaming of becoming a famous actress. Finally, her dream was about to come true. A famed talent agency had invited Rachel for an interview. She arrived at the office to meet her new agent early in the morning. There were 4 people in the conference room. Can you tell which one is Rachel's agent? This guy is the only person who doesn't have an employee badge, so he's probably a guest. This man is wearing a classy, expensive suit, but he brought coffee for everyone, so he's an assistant. This lady's mug says "World's Best Lawyer," so she's probably responsible for legal issues. And this relaxed lady over there is Rachel's agent, Zoe. Zoe offered Rachel to take a seat. Which place should Rachel choose? This chair is missing one leg. Someone has spilled coffee on this chair. The barista has written "The Boss" on the drink in this cup and left it on the table next to this chair. And someone has left a sweater on this chair. So, Rachel has only one option, and here it is. First of all, Zoe decided to check how smart Rachel was and offered her this puzzle. She used 3 pencils to make this triangle. Rachel's task was to create a perfect square by moving just 1 pencil. Can you help her? Here's the answer. After the meeting, Zoe unboxed a delivery from a popular writer. He sent Zoe his new masterpiece in secret. Zoe didn't say anything about this to her colleagues, but one of them was actually trying to steal the script. Can you guess who this person is? It's the assistant. He's using his front camera to take pictures of the mirrored ceiling while Zoe is looking through the script. Zoe brought Rachel to her first audition. Rachel joined other actresses in a line. They were all competing for the lead role in a new series. The main character had poor eyesight, so all actresses put on fake glasses to get into character. Rachel didn't do well enough, and another actress, Sally, got the job. Rachel was very upset. But suddenly, Sally fell to the floor. She was unconscious, and Rachel called an ambulance. Doctors said that someone had poisoned Sally. But all the actresses ate the same snacks and drank the same water. Doctors checked the food, and it was fine. Can you guess what happened there? This actress gave Sally a wet wipe to clean her glasses. The wipe was poisoned. The next day, Rachel arrived at a theater to meet Stan. He was a famous director. She noticed 5 weird things about this place right away. What about you? Can you see them too? Something's wrong with the gravity. In particular, with this chandelier that isn't hanging from the ceiling as it should. The wind that the fan creates is blowing to the right, but this actress's hair is flowing to the left. There are human footsteps on the ceiling. The spotlights are red, but the lighting on the stage is blue. And this ballerina's shadow is falling in the wrong direction. Stan introduced Rachel to his favorite actors, Josh, Steven, and Tyler. They were triplets that always joked around. But this time, they agreed that one of them would tell the truth, and the other 2 would lie. They told Rachel about their game. She had to guess their names. The first guy said that he was Josh. The second introduced himself as Steven, and the third guy said, "The second person always tells the truth." Can you figure out who is who? If the third guy is telling the truth, then so is the second. But only one brother was supposed to be honest. So the third guy must be lying. This means the second brother is lying too. So then, the first guy must be telling the truth. He is Josh. The second guy is neither Josh nor Steven. He's Tyler. And the third brother is Steven. Stan offered Rachel to play a princess in his new production. Rachel went to the dressing room to apply makeup. Suddenly, she heard a scream. Rachel ran out of the room and saw the main star of the play on the stage covered in paint. Rachel questioned the suspects. Ron, an assistant, claimed that he'd been eating his sandwich on the balcony when it happened. Lily, a stylist, was on the phone with her husband. And Stacy, a cleaner, said she'd been cleaning the bathroom at that moment. Who's guilty? Ron. He's holding a sandwich, and it's still unwrapped. Now that Rachel got a job, she needed a place to stay in Hollywood. She started looking for an apartment and went to 3 agencies. Each agency showed her one apartment. Rachel liked them all, but when she examined the apartments, she realized that there were scammers among the realtors. Rachel looked at the documents attentively. Which apartment should she choose? Rachel chose the third option. The first apartment is on the 6th floor. But that's impossible because the building only has 5 floors. And according to the description of the second apartment, its construction will be finished in 2025. This is 2022, by the way. But Rachel needs an apartment immediately. Rachel rented the third apartment and moved in right away. But something was wrong with the bathroom there. Can you see it? How is she supposed to flush? Can you see anything weird here? There's no shower drain. Rachel heard the doorbell ring. Her neighbors, Peter and Victor, brought her 2 cakes, but only one of them was edible. Can you tell which one? Victor's cake is sprinkled with almond flakes, while Peter's cake is decorated with human nails. The next day, Zoe texted Rachel to check how she was doing. Rachel sent her this selfie and said, "Alone at home, learning my lines." Zoe sent Rachel this reply, "What a liar you are!" Why? If Rachel's alone, who's that guy? Zoe took Rachel to a party and introduced her to Nick, an eccentric billionaire who was financing one of Zoe's movie projects. They had a brief conversation, and then Rachel lost him in the crowd. In a while, Rachel noticed 3 guys facing away from her. Each of them looked exactly like Nick. Can you tell who the real Nick is? This guy has a tattoo on his hand, while Nick didn't have it. And this guy's suit is fake. They wrote the brand name with a mistake. Nick offered for Rachel to sing karaoke. The girl sang a song, and Nick liked it so much that he offered her a suitcase full of gold. But he wouldn't reward just anyone. Only smart people deserved his money. To get the gold, Rachel had to crack a riddle. Nick showed her 4 rare coins. He said there was something wrong with 3 of them. Can you figure out which coin is real? People who lived at that time didn't call their era BCE. This coin is from the future. Take a look at the date. There weren't cars in 1365. So here's the only real coin. Rachel used an app to call a taxi to take her precious suitcase home. She saw 3 identical cars in the parking lot. Each of the 3 drivers claimed that Rachel had ordered their car. Which driver should Rachel choose? The third one. Take a look at the first taxi. There's a creepy guy hiding in the back seat, and the second car is missing a wheel. Zoe was having a party at her villa. She noticed that her son, Harry, was eating in his room with some lady. But Zoe didn't know who she was. The woman got very curious. So, after they left, she sneaked into her son's room to find some hints. There were 3 girls at her party, Lily, Jennifer, and Diana. Zoe immediately guessed who was with her son. What about you? Harry is dating Jennifer. Look at the dishes on the table. There's a lipstick stain on the fork. Jennifer is the only girl wearing red lipstick. In the morning, Rachel went for a run in the park. On her way there, she met this woman. And a minute later, she saw another woman, absolutely the same. Rachel thought it was extremely bizarre. But, in reality, there were 5 differences between these 2 ladies. Can you see them? Here they are. Rachel continued her run and saw these 2 guys on a boat in the river. And a couple of minutes later, she noticed these fishermen. Can you spot any differences? There are 5 differences between these 2 pictures. Have you found them all? Rachel stopped because she needed to tie her shoelaces. Suddenly, she saw these 2 women with backpacks. Can you spot 5 differences between them? Right, here they are. Rachel arrived at her apartment building and found her neighbor, Peter, unconscious at the bottom of the stairs. The scene in front of her eyes was so awful that Rachel fainted, and the concierge carried her home. In the evening, after her nap, Rachel left her apartment. And guess what? In the lobby, she came across Peter again. But this time, he was energetic and happy. He was also drinking some juice. How did he survive? Look, he's a vampire! In the morning, Zoe called Rachel and asked her to come to the agency immediately. When Rachel saw the office, she was shocked. It was a mess. Someone had stained the walls with paint, and broken furniture and torn documents were everywhere. Zoe questioned 3 suspects. Dan, an assistant, said that he'd been partying all night. Many people could confirm that. Jessica, a lawyer, said, "What do you think I am? I love my job. Otherwise, I would have already quit." And Sarah, a copywriter, said that she'd been the last one to leave the office. And she had locked the door, that's for sure. Who's lying? Jessica. All the mugs are broken, except for hers. World's best lawyer. The woman wanted to get rid of some documents, so she faked a robbery.
Jill and Jim live in the US. One day, Jim goes on a business trip to Europe. Jill misses him very much, so she calls him up. She asks Jim to take a selfie and send it to her. He agrees. Jill gets furious as soon as she sees the picture. Jill: "You're a liar." How did Jill figure it out? Europe and the US are in different time zones. But in Jim's photo, it's noon. That's American time. He never left the country. Can you find a zombie in this picture? Over here. What about this ski resort? Can you spot any zombies? Hello? And now let's see if you can find a zombie in this amusement park. It's hiding over here. The biggest bank in town was robbed last night. The local police investigate this case and find 2 suspects. They go to search their houses. The officer sees a clue and figures out who the criminal is. How did he guess? Let's take a look at the walls. There's the same picture in both houses. But this one is hanging upside down. There's probably a stash behind it. Busted. A teacher has 21 colored pencils. 7 red, 7 yellow, and 7 blue. She needs to divide them into 2 piles so that one pile would have 3 times fewer red pencils than the second one. And the second pile should have 2 times fewer yellow pencils compared to the first pile. How many blue pens would be in each pile? Zero. The teacher had 21 pencils, not pens. Can you rearrange these crayons and make 4 triangles? To solve this mystery, you gotta think outside the box. Here's the correct answer. Let's make the task a little harder. Can you remove just 2 crayons to make 2 squares? Ready to see the result? There you go. Donna goes to a supermarket and spots something weird. Two of these women are pregnant, but one of them just stole a watermelon. Can you guess who? It's the third lady. She's wearing high heels, not what pregnant women would wear to a grocery store. Kitty wakes up in a creepy basement. She needs to open this door to escape. Can you guess the right order to press the buttons? Kitty needs to make the word unlock from the first letters of each emoji. Therefore, she should press the buttons in the following order: unicorn, nose, lobster, onion, cactus, kiss, and voila. Today is Cassie's birthday. She brings a cake to work to celebrate with her colleagues, Stan, Gemma, and Rosie. Cassie unpacks the cake in the office kitchen. Suddenly, Granny calls, and Cassie goes outside to talk to her. After a while, Cassie returns and finds her precious birthday cake on the floor. She questions everyone. Stan says, "I was sending an important email, so I didn't look at the kitchen. But I think it was Gemma. She's just pretending to be your friend." Gemma says, "I went to the toilet to wash my hands. When I returned, the cake was already on the floor." And Rosie says, "I don't know what happened. I went to the opposite side of the room to turn on the coffee machine. I made cappuccino for everyone." Who's lying? The coffee machine is off, and all the coffee mugs are empty. Therefore, Rosie lied. She was busy doing something else while Cassie was away. Detective Bold is having lunch at his favorite cafe. He looks through the window and sees his neighbor Zelda rushing home. They both live next to the cafe. Suddenly, Zelda runs back and approaches the detective. Zelda: "Please help me. My apartment was robbed while I was out. I didn't touch anything. I just ran here right away to find you." Detective Bold goes to see the crime scene. He looks around and says, "Stop fooling around, Zelda. There was no robbery." How did he know? Take a look at this umbrella. Zelda carried it with her when she was rushing home, but she told the detective that she didn't touch anything at the crime scene. She just threw her stuff around the room to make it look like a robbery. Take a look at this fancy group of people. One of them is a real vampire. Can you guess who? It's the second guy. The first guy struggles with drinking this reddish beverage. The lady is just wearing a cosplay costume. And the guy on the right is taking a selfie, which means he shows up on camera. Therefore, he's a human being. Jeff calls the police early in the morning. Jeff: "My neighbor cut down a tree on my car." A policeman arrives soon. Policeman: "What happened?" Jeff: "My neighbor and I had a quarrel last night. When I was ready to go to bed, I saw him standing in front of my car. In the morning, I went out to drive to work and saw this. My car is pretty old, but he still has to pay compensation for the damage." The policeman questions Jeff's neighbor. He says, "Jeff is a bit weird. He's always trying to start a quarrel for no reason. I didn't touch the car. I was sleeping all night long." The policeman examines the car and immediately realizes which of the neighbors was lying. Who cut the tree down? Can you guess? Jeff. He cut down the tree with this axe, and then tried to put the blame on his neighbor to hit him up for money. Mike is an astronaut. His team consists of 2 other people. They're twins, Rob and Bob. They go to Mars for a month to study the local life forms. Time flies by quickly, and today they have to return to Earth. Mike goes to say hi to his little crew, but he finds 6 identical people in the spaceship. Mike realizes that the Martians can take any shape. Whom should he take back to Earth? This astronaut has 3 fingers. This guy's hair color is different. This imposter has forgotten to put on human ears. And this guy has different eye color. So the real Bob and Rob are over here. What's wrong here? The goalkeeper is holding a tennis racket. Also, why do they need 2 hockey pucks? Shelley downloads a dating app hoping to find new love. She likes several guys. They begin to chat and share some selfies. All 3 guys claim to be single and living alone, but only one of them is telling the truth. Can you guess who? The first guy sent Shelley a selfie from his bathroom. He's wearing a bathrobe, but there's another silk bathrobe hanging in the background. It's pink and small. Why would he need it if he's living alone? And the second guy is obviously fond of jewelry. He's wearing a ring on each finger, including the ring finger. So he's probably married. Only the third guy is telling the truth, and Shelley should give him a chance. A dangerous criminal escapes from prison. The police are chasing him, and the trail leads them into a small village. They question the locals and check the fields. Soon they see a farmer in a cornfield. The detective asks him if he had seen any suspicious strangers around. Farmer: "Sorry, I didn't focus on what's going on around me. I was too busy dealing with my corn. It's getting dark soon, and I need to harvest as soon as possible." The detective immediately figures out that this guy is the wanted runaway criminal. How? Corn is not harvested like this, so he can't be a real farmer. Can you see any odd details here? The phone is unplugged, and the laptop is missing a keyboard. Can you spot anything odd? Take a look at this guy. His fishing style is pretty weird. What about this scene? What are they doing wrong? This lady is skating on the pavement.
Jules is participating in a space mission to Mars. The captain gives her a task to decorate the spaceship. Write something on a wall that makes a person sad when read in good times, and also makes one happy when read in sad times. It took a while, but Jules nailed it. What did she write? Nothing lasts forever. This is it. Jules and her fellow astronauts enter the spaceship and take their seats. Before the launch, Jules has to take care of one last thing. It's under you when it's whole. It shifts above you when you remove the first letter. It's all around you if you remove the second letter as well. What is it? A chair. It's time to start the mission. The captain needs to enter a secret 4-digit password to launch the spaceship. He wrote a little hint on his arm in a secret language. Can you crack the code? All we need to do is to count the number of intersections between the lines, and the code is 2, 5, 4, 8. Jules enters a room with 4 similar sleeping capsules. She needs to wake up her fellow astronaut, Josh, but she doesn't know where he is. There are 4 people sleeping in these capsules at the moment: Josh, Astrid, the physicist, Phil, the doctor, and Leo, the cook. Phil's capsule is next to Astrid. The person sleeping in the first capsule is a doctor. Also, Josh is not sleeping next to a physicist. Where's Josh? Easy peasy. Josh can only be sleeping in the 4th capsule. Jules and Josh enter the Starship bridge. Can you find anything weird here? Look out the window. Birds don't fly in outer space. It's breakfast time. Jules goes to the dining room. Oh no! Someone finished the last tube with her favorite peanut butter.
Really?
Jules questions 3 suspects. Josh says, I didn't do it. I'm allergic to all kinds of nuts. Astrid says, I woke up, brushed my teeth, and came here. I don't know what's going on. Leo says, I prepared food for everyone and left my post for 2 minutes to visit the restroom. Sorry, I didn't notice any signs of a break-in. Who's lying? It's unlikely that a person with allergies could be sent on a space mission. Therefore, Josh is lying. The spaceship has a garden and a special lab that stores samples of different plants from Earth. Tonight, someone broke into the system and destroyed a couple of very important plants. The lab is protected by a special passcode, so Jules suspects that it might be one of their robots. Cameras in the lab have been broken before the incident, so she can't see any visual evidence. Can you help Jules find the guilty one among these 6 robots? Take a closer look at this robot. His light bulb is broken and its fragments lie under the broken CCTV camera. So he's the one who sabotaged the lab work. Thankfully, Jules manages to restore the plants, and soon they receive a solid harvest. Can you spot anything odd in this picture? Money doesn't grow on trees. Jules picks a lot of apples in the lab garden. The crew cannot eat so much at once, so she decides to preserve them. On the eve of canning, Jules finds out that someone has stolen all the fruits.
Oh no.
She questions the crew members. Leo says,
Why would I sabotage the mission? I'm the cook, so it's my job to manage food supplies.
Josh says, I saw a couple of apples floating in outer space the other day. I took a picture, but I didn't do it. And Astrid says, I was sick yesterday, so I spent all day in bed. I didn't touch any food, including apples. Who's lying? Astrid. She said she didn't touch the apples, but there's an apple core in her pocket. Later that day, Jules receives an emergency message from Josh. Can you help her crack it? Mathematically, this riddle doesn't make any sense. But if we cut the upper half of the whole expression, we'll get the phrase, I love you. The next morning, Jules goes to check the garden. She spots a creepy monster and reports the emergency to the captain right away. Can you spot the monster too? Over here. Jules tries to catch the monster, but he manages to escape from her. This creature is a shapeshifter, so he turns into one of the crew members. Jules interrogates the suspects. The captain says, I was video chatting with my family in the cabin. I didn't see any monsters. Josh says, I heard loud noises from the corridor, but I couldn't leave my post. Dr. Phil says, I'm having back pain, so I was doing exercises in the gym. Who's the monster? Phil, take a look at his palms. Both of them are left. This monster seems to have a poor understanding of human anatomy. Jules puts the monster in a cage, and now her task is to find the real Phil. crack this rebus to help her figure out his location. Toilet. Jules finds Phil, and thankfully, he's okay. But there's something wrong about this place anyway. Can you spot what exactly? There are too many hands on the clock. Finally, Jules and her team land on Mars. They're greeted by 5 local residents who don't seem to speak human languages. Can you figure out who's the boss here? All 5 guys are wearing some kind of crown, so it's hard to tell who's the king. But if we take a look at their shoes, we'll see that only the 4th guy is wearing shoes different from everyone else. He must be someone special. Jules jumps from a spaceship without any parachute and survives.
Oh my god.
How come? The spaceship wasn't flying, it was on the ground. Jules takes a tour of the local interplanetary space station. There, she sees a deaf Earthling who came over to pick up a pre-ordered part for his ship. How did he explain what he wanted to the delivery service? He just said it. He's deaf, but we didn't say that he was mute. Jules accidentally steps on a local resident's foot. On Mars, it's a serious crime, so they immediately arrest Jules and put her in a room with 3 doors. All the doors lead to freedom, but unfortunately, each way hides a dangerous surprise. The first door is guarded by angry dogs. Behind the second door, there is a huge lit firecracker that should burst in 5 minutes. A furious guard with a baton is waiting behind the third door. What would you rather choose? Jules can wait 5 minutes until the firecracker bursts and then walk through the second door. Jules returns to her spaceship and goes to the lounge area to get some rest. Can you see anything weird here? Take a look at the big screen. There's a video screensaver saying, "Welcome to Mars." The mirror should have reversed the letters, but it didn't.
Oh.
Suddenly, Jules hears loud noises from the lab and goes there to check. A glitch made all the robots stand up and walk in a chaotic manner. They can destroy the entire lab. Jules has only one option: turn the robots off. What button should she press to stop them? The inscription that says, "Shut down all robots," has a wire linked with the third button. Jules calls other crew members to help her fix the mess in the lab.
Oh, no.
There are 3 hidden emojis in this location. Can you spot them? This notebook over here is an emoji, just like this telescope and those scales. Jules goes to bed. The next morning, she wakes up in an abandoned space station. She explores the area and comes across 3 tunnels. There's a portal leading to Earth at the end of each tunnel. But there's a twist. Creepy space monsters are waiting in the first tunnel. Venomous scorpions are crawling all over the second tunnel. The third tunnel has motion detectors spraying strong acids that can dissolve any metal. Which way is more or less safe? Jules should choose the second tunnel. She's wearing a spacesuit. It'll protect her from scorpions.
Oh.
Gemma entered a haunted house to take pictures. But suddenly, someone closed the door and locked her inside. She spent the whole day in total darkness. Then, the lights turned on, and a creepy clown appeared in front of her. "There's a game I want to play with you," he said. The clown offered Gemma 3 bowls of soup. 2 of them are poisoned and 1 is safe. If she chooses the safe one, the clown will set her free. Can you help Gemma to make a wise choice? Ingredients in the first soup look like pills. The second soup contains suspicious blue carrots. Probably these are not safe, therefore the green one is safe. Can you find a hidden number in this picture? That's right, it's 9175. Can you find a hidden number in this picture? That's right, it's 341. But I'm sure you'll manage to spot a hidden number in this picture. Well done, it's 900. Take a look at this picture. Can you spot the owner of this dog? The red-haired lady is the owner of the dog. Take a look at the dog's collar. It has a picture of the owner. Paul worked in a large company. He left the office to have lunch one day, but he didn't find his car in the parking lot. He immediately called the police. The police soon found the car and started to chase the criminal. But the criminal left the car and ran to the park. The police caught 3 suspects. Jill said she was jogging in the park. Peter was waiting for his girlfriend. And Amy was walking and enjoying nature. Who stole the car? Amy. Although she was enjoying nature, she had the same key that had gone missing. Can you find a hidden dice among all these pieces of cheese? It's over here. Although it looks like cheese, you better watch your teeth. Take a look at this pattern. Can you spot an odd detail? This bunch has more grapes than the others. Let's dive into the water for a while. The bottom of the ocean is full of life, but can you see any fish? It's hiding over here. Here's an eye challenge to read a blurred quote. Can you see this phrase? It says, "Well done is better than well said." Can you spot a panda and a soccer ball among all these snowmen? The ball is over here, and the panda is hiding in the right corner. Look at this picture very attentively. Can you see anything dangerous in this picture? A snake is hiding in the bushes. One morning, Dan went to work as usual. He was a professional athlete and had a lot of awards. When he got back home, he found out that his most valuable trophy was gone. His gold medal was stolen. He called the police to report the missing medal. The detective interrogated Bob's neighbor and found 4 suspects: Rick, Tom, Sarah, and Molly. Each neighbor was carrying a house plan. Who robbed Dan? It was Sarah. Look, the house plan matches his house perfectly. Josh ordered some delicious sushi for a picnic outdoors. Look at the picture carefully. Can you spot any odd components in this meal? There's a green caterpillar in here. See? It probably fell from a tree. I wouldn't recommend eating that anyway. Someone painted the entire playground in the park with graffiti. The police questioned 3 suspects. The detective didn't tell them what he had suspected them of. He asked one simple question. What are you doing in this park? Robert said he was going to the birthday of his friend who lives near the park. Rick was looking for his missing dog who had run away this morning. And Derek was just having lunch in the park. He didn't see any graffiti artists. Who is suspicious? Derek. The detective didn't say anything about the graffiti, but Derek already started defending himself. Can you find the hidden gold coin? It's over here in the left corner. Look at this pattern very attentively. Can you spot anything odd? Someone has bitten this banana. Can you find the right shadow? The correct answer is D. Can you see any numbers on this picture? The correct answer is 1479. Look at these ladies. They all look nice, but the one you choose will tell you something about your personality. If you choose the first lady, you're very friendly and easygoing. Some people may think you're too naive, but you're just a very sensitive and curious person who sees life as an adventure. If you chose the second lady, you're a very loyal and passionate person. When you're in love, you become invincible. If you chose the third lady, it means you love to have fun and nothing can confuse you or make you feel down. Take a look at this picture. Can you spot a person who's in the safest position? The guy in the car is the safest. What number do you see in this picture puzzle? Number 517. Ryan wants to get a job at the museum. He successfully passed the interview, but his employer gave him a final test. Help Ryan determine which portrait is antique. This guy is wearing a fitness tracker, so he's probably not from the Middle Ages. The lady looks very authentic, but take a look at this lamp. Therefore, the portrait of this mysterious old man is original. Good job, Ryan, you're hired. Can you spot a penguin among the toucans? This guy over here. Jack and Jill just moved into a new house. While they were unpacking their boxes, the doorbell rang. They opened the door and saw 3 neighbors standing on the porch. Kitty brought cupcakes, Mrs. Green brought soup, and Amber brought an apple pie. Help Jill and Jack identify the safe neighbor. Kitty's cupcakes contain cockroaches. Amber's cake seems to have some pills hidden in the apples. Therefore, Mrs. Green with her strange soup is the most harmless neighbor. Can you find... Time is up. It's over here. Tina was preparing a birthday dinner in the kitchen. An hour later, her friend found her unconscious on the floor. She called the ambulance and the police arrived to question witnesses. The detective discovered 3 clues: 1 sneaker, 1 glove, and 1 slipper. Then he asked the witnesses to describe what they were doing while Tina was preparing the dinner. Soon, the detective found out who poisoned Tina. How did he know? Tina left a left shoe, left glove, and left slipper. She was trying to show that the poisoner was left-handed. What's wrong with this picture? If you saw a raccoon walking on 2 legs first, you're probably a very intelligent and strong-willed person. Friends can always count on your loyalty. If you promise something, you'll never break your word. If you spotted 2 suns first, you're a very calm and open-minded person. You prefer to avoid drama and unnecessary attention. But people come to you for advice and support because you view this world as a whole, and your opinions are sage and impartial. If you noticed a tree blooming in the middle of winter, it means that you're a very romantic and sentimental person. You feel the beauty of this world very intensely, and you need an environment that will nourish your soul and appreciate your uniqueness. With this kind of support, you can easily make this world a better place. I've heard you've got some impressive analytical skills and a sharp mind. Then you're just the person I need. Help me solve these tricky riddles and prove you're worthy of that detective title. A Japanese ship had left the port and was on its way to the open sea. The captain went to apply oil to some parts of the vessel and took his wedding ring off so it wouldn't get damaged. He left it on the table in his cabin. When he returned, the ring was gone. The man figured out that 3 crew members could be guilty. So he asked each of them what they had been doing for the past 10 minutes. The cook said, "I was in the kitchen preparing tonight's dinner." The engineer answered, "I was working in the engine room making sure everything was running smoothly." And the seaman said, "I was on the mast correcting the flag because someone had hung it upside down by mistake." The captain immediately knew who the thief was. How did he understand it? It was clearly the seaman. It was a Japanese ship, and the Japanese flag is white with a single red dot in the middle. It can't be hung upside down. Cheryl was reading a book, but she was careless and accidentally tore out pages 7, 8, 100, 101, 133, and 334. How many pages will she have to fix? Just 4. 7 and 8, as well as 333 and 334, are just different sides of one page. A folder with extremely important documents disappeared from Detective Brown's office. At the time of the theft, there were only 4 other people in the office: Bill, Tom, Harry, and Mike. Brown interrogated them, and they gave the following statements. Bill said, "Tom did it." Tom denied this claim. Bill did it. Harry said, "Tom's telling the truth." And Mike confirmed, "Harry's not lying." After analyzing these statements, Detective Brown found out that only one person was telling the truth, and the rest were lying. Can you determine the thief? Tom is the thief, and Bill tells the truth. If Bill was the thief, both Tom and Harry would be telling the truth. If Harry was the criminal, none of the statements would be true. And if Mike was the thief, none of the statements would be true either. Your friends complain that every day they have an egg spinning competition with only raw eggs, and every day one particular boy wins. Your friends ask you to find out how he manages to do it. You start observing the boy spinning an egg when suddenly it drops to the floor. The boy goes and takes a broom to clean it up, as if it happens every day. You immediately understand why the boy always wins the daily competition. What's his secret? The boy took a broom, so the egg he had been spinning must have been hard-boiled. If the egg had been raw, he would have taken a mop. A man was discovered unconscious at his desk, alone in the locked office. He was rushed to a hospital and the police started investigating this case. The only clue was a sealed envelope on the man's desk. Have you figured out what happened? The envelope glue contained poison, and when the man licked the envelope to seal it, he got poisoned. A renowned chemist disappeared right from his lab. There was no evidence except a piece of paper lying on his desk. The names of 5 elements were scrawled across it hastily: nickel, carbon, oxygen, lanthanum, and sulfur. The guards reported that 3 people had visited the chemist that day: his sister Laura, his colleague Nicholas, and his wife Tessa. The criminal was arrested immediately. Who was it? The list of chemicals is a clue. Their abbreviations spell out the name Nicholas. Look at these ladies attentively. Can you figure out who's not pregnant? It's the one wearing a green dress. This person has big feet and is wearing a wig. It's actually a man trying to steal a watermelon. That's why he dressed up as a pregnant woman. Each of these 3 women claims she is this boy's mother. But who is the real mom? The real mother is wearing clothes in the same colors as her son's outfit. What a cute family look. Plus, the boy is facing her. Someone stole the principal's money. When the police came to investigate, they questioned the most likely suspects. The PE teacher said he had had a break. The history teacher was having a lesson, and the music teacher said that she felt unwell and had gone home early. Can you figure out who the thief is? The music teacher is the thief. Look, she has gloves in her bag, although it's summer. Suspicious. Look at these 3 men and a girl. The first man says, "I got so scared, I called the school, but they didn't know where my daughter was." The second man says, "We were walking the dog in the park. I turned my back just for a minute, and she was gone." And the third man says, "I have no idea why she ran away. Here, I bought you a new phone." Which man is the real father? The second man is the father. The girl is too young to attend school or have a phone of her own. Someone stole important documents from a businessman's office when the power went out. When the man discovered this unpleasant news, he called his friend, a private detective. The detective arrived and questioned everyone who had been in the office during the crime. The first person said, "I left the office to get some coffee and donuts." The second employee claimed that it had been dark and she'd taken a nap. And the third worker said, "I went to the kitchen to get a latte from our new coffee machine." Who's the thief? The third person's a liar. He wouldn't have been able to use a coffee machine without electricity. The man had lost his memory, and while each of these 3 women claim she's his wife, he can't figure out who's telling the truth. Can you help him? The man and his real wife have matching rings. Look at these 3 bridesmaids. One of them is up to no good. She has spoiled the bride's dress. Can you figure out which one it was? The bridesmaid who had ripped the dress must be left-handed because all the rips were made with a left hand. Pay attention to their placement and direction. And this is the only left-handed maid. She's writing down some notes using her left hand. At 9 a.m., Ethan got a call from his friend, an owner of a large business. The man said that a very important document had disappeared from his office. It had been on his desk the evening before, but now it was nowhere to be found. Ethan immediately came there to question his friend's employees. Soon he had 3 suspects. Walter said he had spent the previous evening at the movies. Joan had dinner with her friends, and Zachary visited an art gallery. It didn't take Ethan long to understand who is lying. Have you figured it out too? It was Walter. His ticket isn't torn. It means he didn't enter the movie theater. Olivia called the police. She told them someone had broken into her house, tied her up, and taken all her money and valuables. When the officers arrived, the entrance door was open. And Olivia was indeed tied to a chair, and still, the detectives didn't believe her story. Why? If the girl was tied, how did she manage to call the police? You take it and throw away its outside. Then you cook the inside. Then you eat the outside and throw away the inside. What is it? You've just eaten a corn cob. Jack is in a cold cell. There's only ground under his feet. In the cell, there is one window, but it's impossible to escape through it. It's located too high above the floor. There are no stairs and no chairs, just a shovel. The man needs to get out of the cell as quickly as possible. He can't dig a tunnel and go deep underground, since the walls are really thick. Jack would get exhausted long before finishing digging his way to freedom. Can you guess the easiest way out of the cell? He needs to dig a large hole in the ground and use the dirt to make a small hill. He can then climb it and reach the window. Ava has been wandering through the desert for days. She's tired, thirsty, and hungry. Finally, she arrives at an oasis. But to get to it, she needs to choose one of 3 paths. At the entrance of the first path, there's a huge dragon with 2 heads. In the middle of the second path, there are hungry tigers. And the third path is swarming with thousands of scorpions. Which path should she choose? The first path. Dragons aren't real, so she'll be safe there. Jenny walks into a cafe and orders a cappuccino.
Hello.
The cashier tells her it's her lucky day. She'll give Jenny her cappuccino for free if she manages to answer a riddle correctly.
Yes!
The cashier says, there are 2 buckets filled with water all the way to the top. The buckets are of the same height, but the temperature of the water inside the first bucket is 25 degrees Celsius, while in the second bucket it's 25 degrees Fahrenheit. If a person drops a coin in each bucket at the same time, which coin will hit the bottom of the bucket first? It takes Jenny a few minutes to answer the riddle, but she gets it right. Can you guess what she answered? She said that first, one of the coins would hit the bottom of the first bucket. It has to do with the state of the water in each bucket. At 25 degrees Celsius, water is liquid, while at 25 degrees Fahrenheit, it turns into ice. Emily finally went to Paris. On her first day, she bought a baguette and some cheese and went to the park to have a picnic. She sat down and cut the baguette into 4 pieces. A random person next to her said, "Hey, it took you 12 seconds to do that." Can you figure out how long it would take Emily to cut the baguette into 8 pieces? It would take 28 seconds. Here's how it works. To cut a baguette into 4 pieces, she needs to make 3 cuts. If it takes her 12 seconds to make 3 cuts, it means that she makes 1 cut in 4 seconds. Now, if she wants to cut the baguette into 8 pieces, she'll need to make 7 cuts. So, 7 cuts, 4 seconds each, 28 seconds. Every Sunday, Mrs. Moore gives her 4 daughters some pocket money. Half of the entire amount goes to the eldest daughter, Brianna. The second sister, Amy, gets half of the amount Brianna gets. Kate gets 1/6 of the total amount. And the remaining $10 goes to the youngest daughter, Nikki. How much money does Mrs. Moore give to her daughters? Once again, Brianna gets half of the money. Amy gets half of the half, which means 1/4 of the original sum, and Kate gets 1/6. They are all some fraction of 12, so Brianna gets 6/12, Amy gets 3/12, and Kate gets 3/12. Together, this adds up to 11/12, which means that Nikki gets 1/12, which equals $10. The whole sum is 12/12, which is $120. Brianna gets $60, Amy receives $30, Kate is given $20. Hey, if I were Nikki, I would complain. Miss Taylor is the owner of a boutique that produces and sells expensive ceramics. On a Friday, when the working week was almost finished, she went to put the day's earnings in the safe and was shocked to find out that the money was gone. Someone had stolen it. Miss Taylor suspected it was one of her workers. She asked each of them what they'd been doing that day. Sloan, the sales manager, said she'd been looking for new clients. Jake, the potter, said he always made 1 cup a day, and he showed all the cups he had finished that week. Lily, the designer, said she'd been working, but she also admitted she hadn't really been productive that day because of some family issues. Who lied? Jake. There are 5 working days in a regular week. The man said he made 1 mug a day, but he only showed 4 mugs. It means he missed 1 day of work. Probably the day he needed to steal Miss Taylor's money. 2 cars, blue and red, started traveling on the same highway at the same time. The blue car is going at a speed of 60 miles per hour, and the red car is going 40 miles per hour. However, after some time on the road, they come across each other at one point. How is this possible? Well, they're traveling in opposite directions, so eventually they would pass each other anyway. Carl was a rich man who had 2 grown-up sons, Ethan and Christian. They lived in a big mansion. One day, Carl noticed that his expensive ancient vase was missing. The only people who were at home the night before were his sons. He didn't want to involve the police, so he decided to interrogate the guys himself. He saw Ethan driving through the gates. He was back from his daily visit to the gym. The young man said that the night before, he'd been practicing guitar and hadn't noticed anything strange. Then, Carl met Christian near the pool. The guy told his father, "Now I understand. Yesterday, I saw Ethan putting a box in the backseat of his car. It must have been the vase." But Carl immediately realized it was Christian who had taken the vase. How did he know? Because Ethan drives a sports car. It only has 2 seats. He couldn't have put the box in the back seat. It means Christian is lying.
Ooh.
A math teacher told his students about Roman numerals. After that, he asked them to draw just 1 line and turn 9 into 6. His only condition was that the students couldn't take their pens off the paper until the line was finished. Mark was the first one to complete the task. How did he do it? He drew the letter S in front of I, X, and got 6. There's a patch of magic grass in a field, and it doubles in size every day. If on day 1 it's just a patch of grass, on day 2 it's twice bigger, and so on. It'll take 10 days for the grass to cover the entire field. How long will it take the grass to cover half of the field? The patch of grass doubles in size every day, so on the 9th day, half of the field will be covered with it. In a kingdom far, far away, an old king lived. The king was worried he had no heirs to his throne. One day, he came up with an idea. He decided to give each child in his kingdom a seed. He promised to make the child who grew the most beautiful plant his heir. 3 months later, thousands of children came to the palace. All of them had amazingly tall green plants in their hands, but one girl had a pot that was empty. However, she was the one the king chose to be the future queen. What made him do so? It turned out that the king had given the children fake seeds. The girl turned out to be the only honest kid. I have some more riddles for you today. Let's start with the easy ones for a warm-up. Can you find the odd one out? Yep, here it is. Here's another one. Find an odd one out here then. Perfect, here it is. How about this one? Right here. Did you find it? And it's getting harder. What about the odd one out here? Look, it's this one. All the other hands are the right ones, and this one is the only left hand. Now I'll show you 2 pictures. Your task is to find 5 differences between them. Ready? Here they are. How many did you spot? Let's do it one more time. Find 5 differences here. Keep your eyes wide open. So did you manage to do it? I think you're now prepared for more hardcore tasks. Let's start with decoding. Detective Callum has been searching for a missing girl, Riley, for 3 weeks. He was in his office going through the case for the 100th time when he got an anonymous email saying, "Can you guess what's written here?" It's just written in reverse order. If you read it from right to left, the message turns into, "The girl is in a hidden room beneath the Central Cafe. Bring $500 and I will tell you the passcode." Someone robbed a bank, and Detective Callum was leading the investigation. There were 2 robbers, but the police managed to catch only one of them, Dante. Dante refused to name his accomplice, but the police had 3 suspects, Bree, Ivory, and Ronan. Detective Callum took a brief look at them and knew exactly who the second robber was. Who was it, and how did he know? It's Ivory. Look, she has the exact same tattoo on her wrist as Dante. Holland went to work and asked her boyfriend, Kyler, to walk the dog. Kyler agreed, but then his friend called him and suggested to come over to play a new video game. So, Kyler decided to skip the dog walk and went straight to his friends. Holland and he met right outside the house when they were both going back home. Kyler said that he'd walked the dog and then went to play with his friend. But Holland knew that he was lying. How? It's winter. So just look at the footprints. There are Holland's footprints on the snow going both ways, and Kyler's footprints going both ways too, but there are no footprints of the dog. Someone in a little town was stealing bicycles. Every time someone's bike was stolen, the owner would find a business card with 2 emojis printed on it. The police had 3 main suspects: Ocean Walker, Rebecca Smith, and Damian Jones. Who is the robber? The emojis signify the name. They are a wave and a person walking, so the robber must be Mr. Ocean Walker. On Wednesday, after a break, Nash came to his desk and found a short love note written in red ink. It wasn't signed, but Nash had 3 girls in mind, so he asked each of them if she had written him the note. Layla said that she'd been chatting with her friends and didn't write any notes. Dawn said that she was busy all break finishing her homework. Oakley said that she had been in the bathroom and had just come back. Who do you think wrote the note? Look, Oakley's hands are covered in ink. It's blue ink, but still. If she really was in the bathroom, her hands would be clean. So she must be lying, and she must be the one who wrote that note. Adley was kidnapped and woke up in a dungeon. There were 3 ways out, but they all looked dangerous. Behind one door, there were many little robots that were ready to attack her. Behind the second door, there were 3 trained tigers. Behind the third door, there were 3 big and very hungry dogs. Which way should Adley choose to get out safely? The best choice must be the first door. Although they're robots, they're still super small and probably can't cause her much harm. Right before a restaurant was about to open, someone had stolen all the money from the cashier's desk. A cook said that he was working in the kitchen and didn't have any free time. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't see anything. The waiter said that there was a suspicious visitor peeking around. Who do you think stole the money? The restaurant was still closed and there couldn't be any visitors, so the waiter must have lied and is probably guilty. Ned works in a club, and his job is to check people's ID cards and not to let suspicious people or folks under 21 in. Take a look at ID cards and help him decide if he can let each visitor in or not. Here's the first one. What do you think? She seems fine. Let her in. Okay, here's the next visitor. What do you say? June 31st does not exist. There are just 30 days in June, so nope. What about this guy? Something is wrong once again. Even though February 29th theoretically exists, there was no February 29th in 1977. It's every year that can be divided by 4. Okay, what do you think about this girl? I don't see anything suspicious about her. Here's another candidate for the club. What do you think? Well, he is 22, and he seems fine to me. Let him in. A student was having an oral chemistry exam and was struggling with his last task. His professor decided to help him and have some fun, so he said that instead of the task, the student could guess his daughter's name. He only had one guess, but there was a hint. He wrote down several numbers: 32, 10, 14, 16. What's the professor's daughter's name? It's a chemistry class and chemistry professor, so there must be something related to chemistry. Look, there's even a periodic table in the background to help you. The 32nd element is germanium, or Ge, and the 10th one is neon, or Ne, and the 14th one is silicon, or Si, and finally, the 16th element is sulfur, or S. Together, they form the name Genesis. A bank was robbed, but they couldn't find the robber. A week later, at night, Detective Callum woke up from a call from a local shop's owner. He said that he found the money under his terrace. Detective Callum arrived, but there was only half of the money stolen. The man said that he had seen a man by his shop a week ago. It was a full moon, so he could see that the man had red hair and was wearing a dark hoodie. Still, the shop owner was arrested. Why? The shop owner said it was a full moon a week ago, but look, it's a full moon right now, so the man must be lying about something. In history class, students were asked to prepare a presentation about their ancestors. Edwin told about his great-great-grandpa who moved to New York and started as a salesman and then built a huge business. He even showed a photograph of his young grandpa in New York, but no one believed Edwin's story. Why? Even though the picture is black and white and looks old, old New York looks very much like modern New York, with dozens of skyscrapers. The class noticed and figured out that it definitely wasn't a real photo. Royce called the police and reported that someone had robbed his house. Detective Callum arrived and asked Royce to tell exactly what happened. Royce said that he had walked into his room and saw someone getting out of the window. It was still open because Royce didn't care to close it or touch anything before the police arrived. He checked his wardrobe and found that his savings had been stolen. Detective Callum closed the case. Why? The robber couldn't go out the window without stepping on the bed, but the bed is perfectly made, so it looks like no one was leaving through the window. Kaya was studying in the library. She went to the bathroom and left her things on the desk. When she returned, she found that her wallet had been stolen. She called the police and they interrogated the 3 students who were also in the library. Andre said that he had left the library right after Kaya to get a drink from the vending machine and hadn't touched any of her things. Poppy said that she was studying the whole time and not paying attention to anything. Rhea said that she was in the other part of the library looking for a book she needed and hadn't seen anything suspicious either. Who stole the wallet? It was Andre. He said that he had left to get a drink in a vending machine, but look, there's no drinks in the vending machine, only snacks. A young man named Colton was living with his best friend Cassidy. One morning, he called the police because Cassidy wasn't breathing. He said that he'd been working all day and had returned home late, so he hadn't seen her or talked to her for over a day. In the morning, he found her in bed like that. Last night, Cassidy had a headache and had to take many pills, so maybe that was the reason. Colton was immediately arrested. Why? Colton obviously didn't communicate with Cassidy, but he still somehow knew what she was doing in the evening. He must have come up with all of it, as he is probably guilty. Henry and Mia lived together in New York. They wanted to run away from big city life and celebrate their anniversary in the wild. So the guys used a special online service and found 3 available options nearby. Bob offered his cozy treehouse in the woods for a reasonable price. Julia offered this fancy geodesic dome with all conveniences. It's a 2-hour drive away from New York. And Crystal offered an old mansion that she'd inherited from her granny. Can you help the guys make the right choice? Take a closer look at the picture of the dome. It's located near the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which means this property is in Italy, and it can't be 2 hours away from New York. And Crystal's granny's ghost is still in the house, so Mia and Henry should choose the treehouse. The guys contacted Bob, booked the house, and hit the road. Mia is a famous blogger, so she decided to post all milestones of their journey in her stories. Can you spot any differences between these two pictures? Here they are. What about these two pictures? There are 3 differences. What can you say about these two? Can you see 3 differences? Here they are. While the guys were driving along a highway, someone threw a can of paint into their car. Mia and Henry stopped at the nearest car wash and interviewed 4 other drivers. Bill said,
My truck has to be perfect. I'm going on a date this evening.
Jack said, I'm going to meet my business partner at the airport. I want to leave a good impression. Lily said, Honestly, I don't need to have my car washed. I just stopped here to visit the restroom. Ryan said, My boss gave me this coupon so that I could wash my car for free. Who stained Henry and Mia's car? Lily. Her right hand is stained with the paint of the same color, and besides, she has a print of Mia's face on her t-shirt. She's definitely obsessed with her. The guys washed their car and continued on their journey. They had to choose one of these 3 roads to reach their destination. The first one went through toxic swamps. People often get lost in that area. The second path went near a river with creepy sirens. Their singing made everyone jump into the water. And a band of angry robbers was waiting on the third road. Which way should the guys opt for? The second one. They can close all the windows, turn some music on, and drive past the sirens very fast. Mia suggested visiting the farmer's market to buy some fresh produce for their romantic weekend. When they entered the marketplace, 3 sellers offered them apples, but only one deal was safe enough. Can you help the guys make the right choice? Seller number 1 offers very old apples. Take a look at the date on the box. They expired 5 years ago. Seller number 3 offers very beautiful apples. But pay attention to his assistant. She's putting shoe polish on the apples to make them look better. So, Mia and Henry should pick the second seller. Henry and Mia left the market and put all their purchases into the car. Suddenly, Henry realized that he'd left a bag with cabbage at the farmer's stall. He returned but couldn't find the bag. Henry questioned 3 people he saw nearby. Vera said,
I only eat fruit, mister. See, I've got bananas and apples.
Bella said, Yes, I saw your bag. The seller put the cabbage back on the shelf. And the seller said, I don't know what's going on here. I spent the last 10 minutes in the bathroom. Who's lying? Vera. She hid the cabbage under her elegant hat. Finally, the guys reached their destination. The treehouse is even better than in the photo, but can you spot anything weird in this picture? This raccoon is wearing sunglasses. The owner of the treehouse, Bob, lives in another country, and the house is located 15 miles away from the village and other people. That's why Bob installed a special digital clock on the door. When Henry booked the property, Bob gave him a 6-digit password. But unfortunately, Henry had lost it. Here's a hint. M80. Can you help the guy crack the code? These symbols are mirrored digits. Split them apart and you'll get the code 1133CC. The guys unlocked the door. But as soon as Mia entered the living room, she got very scared. She asked Henry to call the police. Why? The treehouse is in the middle of nowhere. Who lit the candles and the fire? The house was locked. Henry checked all the rooms, but found no clues. What about you? Any ideas who that could be? That roof window is open. Someone crawled inside the house before the guy's arrival, and now that someone is hiding under the bed. See? The guys called the police. Officers promised to arrive within an hour. Mia decided to take a shower. When she returned to the living room, she realized that Henry had disappeared. Mia searched the garden, then checked all the rooms in the house, and returned to the garden again. But she failed to find any clues. Can you help her? The hot tub was open when Mia began her search, but now it's closed. Pretty suspicious. Mia was walking through the garden. Suddenly, a man in a mask popped out of nowhere and pushed her. Mia stepped on a trap and fell into a deep well. She yelled, "Please help me out!" No one answered, but Mia's phone pinged. The masked man offered her to play a game. Otherwise, she'd have to stay in the well forever. Here's the first riddle. I come in many different colors, and I get bigger when I'm full. I will float away if you don't tie me down, and I will make a loud sound if I break. What am I? Mia nailed it immediately. What about you? The correct answer is a balloon. Here's the second question. I can jump and I can climb. With many legs, I swing from tree to tree. I can make a house much bigger than me. What am I? Have you guessed? It's a spider. And the final question. I come out at night without being called. I'm lost in the day without being stolen. What am I? Can you help Mia? The correct answer is a star. A hatch opened at the bottom of the well. Mia went through it and got into a creepy basement. There, she found 3 ways to freedom, but every door hid some danger. A fire-breathing dragon was sleeping behind the first door. The corridor behind the second door was filled with high-voltage wires. And a vampire was waiting behind the third door. Suddenly, a message appeared on the screen of the girl's phone. Hurry up! Soon the walls will close in and smash you. Which way should Mia choose? She should wait until the walls are close enough so that she can scare the vampires away with this stake and go through the third door. When the police arrived at the treehouse, they found Mia and Henry at the porch. Henry had just woken up. The robbers had put sleeping pills in his coffee. The officers searched the area and found some clues. They concluded that the criminals were planning to leave the country by train. Unfortunately, no one knew what they looked like or how big the group was, so they stopped 4 suspicious people at the railway station and examined their baggage. Can you figure out who's innocent? Why would a bald man need shampoo? And this supposedly blind person has a flashlight. This guy is carrying 3 tubes of toothpaste, but no single toothbrush. It seems that only the third guy isn't a criminal. 3 friends lived not far from one another and often met to drink some coffee together. Their names were Mr. Blue, Mr. Red, and Mr. White. One day, they noticed that under their coats, they were wearing t-shirts of different colors: red, blue, and white. Mr. Blue said, "Hey, Mr. White, have you noticed that we're all wearing colors that are different from our actual names?" The man wearing the white shirt answered, "Wow, you're right. Can you figure out the shirt of which color each of them was wearing?" Mr. Blue can only be wearing white or red, but we've already learned that someone else is wearing the white shirt. That means that Mr. Blue can only be wearing the red shirt, and Mr. White can only be wearing a blue or red shirt. And the red shirt is already taken, so Mr. White is wearing the blue shirt. Then Mr. Red is wearing the white shirt. Mia and Henry decided to spend the night in a hotel nearby. The manager said that they only had 3 free rooms. Can you help the guys choose the best option? This room doesn't have any doors. That's weird. And this room has a cracked mirror on the ceiling. It's too risky. The second option looks pretty safe and nice. The guys checked in, and Henry asked Mia, "Well, where do you want to go now?" She answered with this riddle. "You used to visit me when you needed to know, but I've been lonely since the internet was born. What am I?" Have you guessed? The correct answer is a library. In the library, the guys met these 4 students. One of them is broke. Can you guess who? Student number 3. Her uniform is too large for her body. It must have belonged to her sister.
There are 3 labeled wooden baskets. On one of them it's written lemons. Another one says pineapples, and the remaining one claims that it has both lemons and pineapples. All the labels are placed incorrectly. You reach into one basket and pull out one fruit. Will you be able to correct all the labels after doing it? Yes. Since the baskets are mislabeled, you know for sure that in the lemons and pineapples basket, you'll find just one type of fruit. So you opt to pick a fruit from that basket. If it's a lemon, this is the lemon basket. And since the pineapple basket is also mislabeled, it must contain lemons and pineapples. Then the remaining basket contains pineapples. The same logic applies if you pull a pineapple out of the lemons and pineapples basket. Can you find a mistake in this picture? Be very attentive. The dog is leaving paw prints of only 2 paws. How about this picture? What's wrong here? This guy is using the wrong tool. To cut this tree, he should be using an axe. Have a look at these girls. They all look perfectly normal, but one of them has recently robbed a bank. Can you figure out which one it is? Pay attention to even the tiniest details. It's the girl on the left. Look, she has lots of different passports on the bed behind her back. She's probably going to escape the country using a fake ID. Look at these nurses and try to figure out which one is fake. The first 2 nurses seem to have the correct pictures on their name tags. But the third nurse has the same picture as the second one, and she doesn't look like the person in the photo, so she is the imposter. Now, put your detective hat on and say which of these men stole the phones. The first two men have the phones they are selling on display. They don't hide them. And they also look very confident and proud of their business. The man on the right, though, is hiding the phones behind his basket. He also looks nervous. Look at these men carefully. Who is the baby's father? Based on the baby's hair color and his beauty mark, the man in the middle is most likely his father. Your next task is to figure out which of these people stole the petrol. The woman in the middle is the culprit.
Oh no!
Can you see petrol stains on her clothes? Look at this picture intently and try to figure out which dish could have caused food poisoning. Most probably, it was the combination of the drink and the burger. It doesn't look as if the guy even touched the pizza or the fries. James came to visit his friend Ethan. The guys were watching TV and eating pizza when James' phone rang. It was a sales assistant from his store who claimed there was a problem with one of their customers. James had to leave for a while. Soon after his departure, Ethan felt unwell and lost consciousness. When James returned, he saw that Ethan was lying on the floor and the apartment was in a mess. Ethan luckily came to his senses before the police arrived. He told the officer that the robbers had stolen all his money and electronics. The only question the detective asked him was if Ethan touched anything on the table after James had left. When he heard the negative answer, he immediately arrested James. Can you figure out why? There are ice cubes in the glasses on the table. If those were the same drinks the friends had been drinking before James left, the ice would have melted long ago. It means that James put something in Ethan's glass to knock him out, took all the money and valuables, and replaced the drinks with fresh ones before the police arrived. Luke had an older brother who was always teasing him, mentioning their age gap. When Luke finally went to school, he hoped that his brother wouldn't call him little anymore. But when the boy returned home after his first day of school, his brother started again. Primary school is for babies. Everything you learn is so easy. Then Luke decided to teach his brother a lesson. Okay, then how about you solve a riddle our teacher gave us today? Luke's brother agreed without hesitation. If you take away half of this number, you'll get nothing. What is this number? Even after thinking for a while, Luke's brother didn't manage to solve the riddle. Can you? This number is 8. Take away its top part and you'll get 0. Littlefield was a tiny village where people didn't even get fines for illegal parking. But one day, something terrible happened in this quiet place. Mr. Richardson, a rich farmer, arrived at the police station saying that 2 of his best cows were missing. There were 3 suspects, and each of them had to answer just one question. Have you taken your neighbor's animals? Mr. Anderson said that he had nothing to do with it because he and Mr. Richardson had a common business, and he wouldn't risk their cooperation. Mrs. Martinez stated that she had been living in this village since birth, and she wouldn't spoil her reputation because of some animals. And Mr. Jones explained that since his family had been breeding pigs for centuries, he didn't have any reasons to steal cows. The police officer managed to figure out who the criminal was. Have you realized it too? The thief is Mr. Jones. How did he know it was cows that were stolen? Nobody had told him what species it was. Detective Scratch was called to investigate a case. A rich lady had disappeared right from her home and no one could find her. The detective had a list of suspects with the following names: Rooney, Messi, David, Chris, and Amanda. But apparently, the criminal was a fan of Detective Scratch, so they decided to attract his attention by leaving notes in different locations. Note number 1 was in the drawing room. The second note was in the art room. Note number 3 was in the vault. The fourth note was in the ice cream room. Yes, that lady was that rich. And note number 5 was in the dining room. All the notes had the same message. The clues you're looking for are where you find the notes. Detective Scratch didn't need much time to figure out what it all meant. How fast can you do the same? The person behind the disappearance of the rich lady was David. You just need to take the first letters of the rooms where the notes were found. D-A-V-I-D. A precious gold figurine disappeared from Mr. Brown's mansion. He invited a private detective, since he suspected one of his relatives was the thief. Each of the suspects gave one statement, but only 3 of these statements were correct. Can you figure out who the thief is if the statements are the following? Uncle Jack: Uncle Jim stole the figurine. Aunt Mary: I didn't do it. Cousin Stuart: it wasn't Cousin Margaret. Uncle Jim: Uncle Jack is lying when he says I did it. Cousin Margaret: Aunt Mary is telling the truth. Cousin Mary is the thief.
Oh no!
And the statements of Aunt Mary, Uncle Jim, and Cousin Margaret are true. Eric was locked in a room with 19 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and all the people inside without turning their heads or bodies or moving in any other way. To get out of the room, Eric had to place an apple in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The guy managed to do it. Can you figure out how he did it? He put the apple on someone's head. Clever. Can you spot the odd emoji in this image? Yep, it's this unfriendly looking one. It's not smiling like the others.
The other day, Mike had a dentist appointment. When he came to the dentist's office, he saw 2 doors leading to the rooms. The administrator was away, so Mike decided to find the right room himself. He opened the right door first, and then he checked the left room too. Where was the real dentist? The real dentist was behind the left door. Look, the dentist stands over the chair and holds a dental instrument in his hands. In the chair, there's a teenager who's having his teeth professionally cleaned. But behind the right door, the dentist is holding a tattooing machine. A teen in that room is looking at him with suspicion. Jennifer was exploring some spooky old house, looking for fancy antique things. Some hours later, she got tired and decided to have a quick lunch, which she had packed in the morning. She went to the dining room with a large table and 3 chairs, lit the candles, and was about to take a seat. But all of a sudden, she spotted something weird about most of the chairs in that room. What chair should Jennifer sit on? Jennifer was super attentive. That's why she sat on the chair in the middle. The one on the left has a sharp nail sticking out, and the one on the right is already taken. Look! There's a ghost sitting on it. Stuart was taking the final cooking exam. He has always wanted to be a chef, and he was about to take one step closer to his dream. The professor said the one who answered all his questions would get the certificate with honors and the money prize of $10,000. The most important thing is that this person will also be offered a sous chef position at one of the most prestigious restaurants in Paris. All the students answered 19 questions, and the professor read the last and the most complicated one. What product will never be salty when you boil it, no matter how much salt you add? 2 days later, Stuart was on his way to Paris. He was the only one to know the answer. What product was the professor talking about? It's an egg in the shell. No matter how much salt there is in the water, the boiled egg won't be salty. Fiona left her husband a shopping list for him to go to the supermarket. These guys are really into riddles, so the list was full of them. Fiona wanted Mark to buy something that has eyes but can't see, something that has ears but can't hear, and the wealthiest nuts. What did Fiona want Mark to buy? Fiona needed some potatoes, corn, and cashews. Jenny was locked in a room with 15 other people. Each of them could see the entire room and all the people inside without turning their head or body or moving in any other way. To get out of the room, Jenny had to place an orange in such a way that everyone but one person could see it. The girl managed to do it. But how? She put the orange on one person's head. A notorious bad guy caught wealthy businessman Brian and locked him in a room. "I won't let you go until you double the money I'll leave for you." And the criminal put $5,000 on the table. By the time he returned, Brian had already doubled the money. He hadn't left the room or communicated with anyone. Then how did he do it? He put the money in front of the mirror. Early in the morning, Ashton got a call from his friend, an owner of a big company. The man was in distress. A very important contract had disappeared from his office. It had been on the desk the evening before, but nowhere to be found in the morning. Ashton immediately headed to the office to question the employees. In no time, he had 3 suspects. Ben said he had spent the previous evening at the movies. Mason had taken his girlfriend out to dinner, and Jesse had been invited to a party. It didn't take Liam long to understand who was lying. It was Ben. His ticket wasn't torn, so he didn't actually go to the movies. Right before a restaurant was about to open, someone stole all the money from the office. A detective arrived for interrogation. A cook said that he was working hard and didn't have time to walk or gaze around, so he didn't see anything. The security guy said that he was in the bathroom and didn't steal anything. The waiter said he remembered seeing one visitor heading to the office. Somehow he ignored it and didn't stop them. The waiter got arrested for stealing the money. Why? The restaurant wasn't open yet. There could be no visitors. Blake was a writer applying for a job in a fashion magazine. However, the boss was a whimsical woman. Blake did the interview well, but still, the woman didn't want to hire her because Blake was too young. The boss poured some water into a glass and asked Blake to get her some apple juice to fail her. However, there were 2 conditions. She wanted the water in the glass, but didn't want it to mix with the juice. Still, Blake figured out how to do it and got the job. How? She just put the glass in the freezer and waited till the water got frozen, then she poured the juice on top of it. Della was having a birthday party. She invited 3 people over and got 3 presents, a pair of heels, a bag of makeup, and golden earrings. However, Eloise didn't like one of the presents. Can you guess which one and why? She didn't like the golden earrings just because she couldn't wear them. Her ears aren't pierced. Well, maybe she will consider piercing them. Jason is making pizza for his family, and Savannah went outside to make some grilled vegetables. Which one of them does something wrong? Jason. He forgot to turn on the oven. James was a famous detective who could crack even the hardest cases. Once, he was investigating a case and found some crucial evidence. The next morning, he woke up in a well. It was old, deep, but luckily not filled with water, but quite dusty. On the flip side, there was no way he could get out to the surface. Suddenly, James saw his main suspect's face at the top of the well. "You won't live long enough to rat me out," the man shouted. And then, the detective felt soil falling on his head. The bad guy was going to bury him alive. But in an hour, James was already out of the well and running away. How did he manage to get out? The detective started to shake off and tamp down the soil that was falling into the well. He was getting closer and closer to the surface until he managed to jump out and run away. Jane was walking home late. She was pretty tired, so she decided to take a bus. It was midnight, but the bus was packed with people. You get a gut feeling later that there's something wrong with some of these people. Who's a zombie? There are 20 people on the bus. There are 2 zombies among them. A man on the right has a bit of a bandage on his arm, and the woman next to the window seems to be groaning all the time. All the people in town thought Jack wasn't smart enough. Every time somebody offered him a 50c coin or a $1 bill, he would always choose the 50c coin. Many people every day would offer him to do it, but he never grabbed the bill. Why was Jack smart? Jack was actually pretty smart because he would get money without doing anything. As long as he agreed to get less money for no reason, people would come and try his trick again and again. See that car? Jack's been refusing $1 bills for over 10 years now, so he saved up enough money to get a car. You find yourself in a photo gallery. After looking at the wall, you realize that one of the pictures doesn't belong. You see a raccoon, a llama, a football, and a balloon. Can you tell which is the odd one out? You have 7 seconds to guess. It's the llama picture. The other 3 objects have 2 double letters in their names, but the llama only has 1 double. And trust me, don't get too close to the llama. They might spit in your face. It's not fun. You have 3 matches. Can you make a 6 out of them without breaking them into pieces? Who said the number 5 has to be a standard 6? The match is made a perfect Roman numeral 3 right from the get-go. So all you have to do is bring the bottoms of the first 2 matches toward each other, and you've got a Roman numeral 6. It's your first day in the new office. Some colleagues don't seem really friendly, and you can't understand why. They also act strange, never have coffee breaks, and work at least 12 hours a day. A secretary at the reception desk, Lauren, tells that their company hires robots sometimes because they work harder than people and aren't addicted to coffee. She also says to stay away from them and try not to talk to them or even greet them because they can be unpredictable sometimes. It's quite easy to tell who's a robot. Can you guess who's a robot among these 3 people? Anna, Mike, and Lucy? It's Mike. He's the only one among 3 people who have a switch on the right.
Mary is a college student, and she's late for class. That's why she runs down the hallway and bumps into a skateboarder. She hits her head and forgets what class she was running to. Mary remembers just 3 things. This class is taught by a redhead professor. She has to go upstairs, and she already attended economics and philosophy classes today. Can you help her find the correct classroom? There are 4 redhead professors in this college, but we can exclude those whose classrooms are on the ground floor. Although this gentleman is on the first floor, he teaches economics, so he doesn't fit either. Meanwhile, the math teacher matches the requirements perfectly, so Mary should go up to the 2nd floor. Mary's walking down the street after classes. Suddenly, a car stops in front of her and someone kidnaps her. Mary wakes up in a dusty basement. The door is not locked, but it's guarded by a creepy guy. She looks around and finds 3 pills: red, green, and blue. Each pill will give her one specific superpower for 10 seconds. The red pill gives the power of super speed. The blue pill will make her invisible. And the green one will make Mary fly. Which pill should she choose to escape? Mary should choose the invisibility pill. The guard will not be able to catch her if he's not aware that she's running away. The next day, Mary goes to college and faces amazing news. Her friend Bill succeeded in making clones of some students. But unfortunately, now he cannot tell clones from real people. Can you help him? Let's take a closer look at the second lady's eyes and the third lady's ears. These 2 individuals are definitely clones. What about these guys? Can you sort out all the clones? Both of the palms of the second guy are right, and the third one has weird wires in his arm, so only the first guy is a human. Let's see if you can spot clones here. The first and the third guys are too suspicious for regular human beings. Mary is visiting her granny, who lives on a farm and grows vegetables. But Granny is very upset because someone stole the largest pumpkin from her garden the other night. She suspects one of her neighbors. Mary decides to question them. Olivia says, "My pumpkins are way better than your granny's. Why would I steal from her?" Sam says, "I was on a business trip the other night, so I didn't see anything. I'm not a huge fan of vegetables, that's why I don't grow them." And Tom says, "Your granny is bothering me with small talk all the time, so I avoid visiting her farm at all costs." Can you help Mary spot the thief? It was Sam. He has a scarecrow with a big pumpkin head. Granny goes to sleep early, and Mary decides to watch TV. Breaking news! A dangerous criminal ran away from a nearby prison and now creeps around the village. Suddenly, Mary hears someone knocking on the door. She opens and faces 2 ladies who introduce themselves as Mary's neighbors. Both ladies are baking cakes separately. Sarah is asking for a cup of sugar, and Sheila would like to borrow a cup of milk. But only one of them is safe to invite over. Can you guess who? Both ladies are wearing clothes with red stains. They might have stained it while making their cakes. But Sarah has a real axe hidden in her boot, so she must be the runaway criminal from the news. Mary is looking through Granny's old stuff and finds 3 spooky pictures. Only one of these ladies is a real human being. Can you guess who? The first lady is a real mermaid. Take a closer look at her neck. She has gills and she breathes underwater, so we can exclude her. The third lady has vampire ears and red eyes. But who knows? Maybe it's just a costume. Meanwhile, the second lady is hanging on a transparent rope, so she's just pretending to be flying. And since we know there's only one human among these ladies, we can conclude that it's the second lady. Mary finds 2 similar pictures of her granny. Can you spot 3 differences between them? Here they are. Later that night, Mary receives a video call from her grandpa. He's working on a space station. Grandpa tells Mary sad news.
Tonight, someone from my team stole all the seeds from the local Martian Kiwi. It took me a year to obtain them. I'd like to find the one who did it as soon as possible. Otherwise, it'll take years to find new seeds.
Mary takes a brief look at the crew and spots the thief right away. What about you? In her user picture, Lily doesn't have any moles on her face. Seems like these spots are the kiwi seeds that she's decided to hide in plain sight. Mary goes to the local shopping mall and sees these 3 guys. One of them is going on a date tonight. Can you guess who? It must be the 3rd guy. He's hiding a small wrapped gift, probably for his date. Mary enters a clothing store, looks around, and spots 4 odd details. Have you noticed them too? The mannequin has 6 fingers on one of her hands. The ceiling fan is not connected to any wires, but it works. The lady is eating ice cream near the cashmere sweaters, but there's a sign at the entrance forbidding customers from entering with food, and the sales lady is walking barefoot. Mary continues her shopping and finds something very curious. It has a head and a tail that will never meet. Having too many of them is always a treat. What is it? It's a coin. Mary purchases something that helps you from your head to your toe, but the more it works, the smaller it grows. Can you guess what it is? It's a bar of soap. Mary gets out of the shopping mall and walks to the parking lot. She approaches her car and sees that someone had written a couple of words on her windshield. Mary finds 3 suspects and questions them. Chelsea says, "I'm sorry, but I didn't see anything. I was too busy with my shopping bags." Peter says, "I've just parked my car nearby. Your windshield was already signed when I arrived there." And Alice says, "Wow, lady, you're still very lucky. Take a look at my car. Someone scratched it while I was in the supermarket." Who's guilty? Chelsea. Take a look at her lipstick color. It's purple, just like the inscription on Mary's car. Mary wants to take her car to the nearest car wash. Chelsea offers to pay for the cleaning if Mary manages to crack her riddle. The more you take, the more you leave behind. What am I? Ready to hear the correct answer? Footsteps. The weekend is over and Mary leaves Granny for college. She enters the dorm and finds a huge bouquet of roses on her bed. There's no card, so Mary has no idea who's her secret admirer. Mary questions 3 suspects, but each denies their involvement. Bill says, "I'm too broke. I can't afford to buy such an expensive gift." Paul says, "I have a girlfriend. I give flowers to her only." And Dave says, "Why would I get roses or anything else? You didn't reply to messages." Who brought the flowers? Bill. He has a few rose petals left under his bed. Mary goes to the local library. Oh no, the door is locked. Someone changed the 9-digit password, but luckily, Mary finds a note with a hint. 3, 1, 2, 9, 4, 7. Can you help her figure out the new code to open the door? She should literally press 3 1s, 2 9s, and 4 7s. Finally, Mary enters the library, but she yells and runs away in fear. Can you guess why? Take a look at the flower pots. There's a greenish snake crawling around one of the plants.
Now, Foggy is a friendly ghost living in the attic of an old house. Every night, he goes for a refreshing walk around the house for 4 hours. Foggy doesn't like 1 month of the year because that month he gets to walk around way less than the previous months. What's the month and why? It's February. There are just 28 days and nights in February, and 29 on the luckiest years. So, fewer nights and less time for Foggy to walk around. Just a month ago, Autumn and her family moved into a new house. Everyone loved it, but Autumn was sure that the house was haunted. She doesn't know it yet, but our old friend Foggy is the ghost that lives in her attic. He is a friendly ghost, so once he left her a message written on a mirror. Autumn woke up and saw this. Can you help her read the message? It's a code. Autumn should ignore the numbers and only look at the letters. The note says, "Do not be afraid. I am Foggy. And who are you?" Right before Halloween, when everyone was dressed up and carefree, all the creatures flooded a little town trying to blend in. Detective Callum was on duty to identify all the imposters and keep an eye on them. He has a couple of leads, and your task is to help him find all the monsters. Deal? The first one we need to find is a vampire. The vampire lives in one of these 2 houses. Can you tell which one? Look, there is garlic hanging in this house. Vampires can't stand garlic, they prefer cilantro, so it cannot be a vampire's house. So the vampire lives in this one. Perfect, let's move on. One of these houses belongs to a centaur. Do you have any idea which one? It must be this one. Pay closer attention to the path to the house. There are footprints of horse hooves. Centaurs have an upper body of a human, but a lower body of a horse, which explains the prints. The centaurs must be living here. The next one we need to track is a mummy. Take a closer look at these 2 apartments. Where does the mummy reside? Now, did you notice the bandages all over the room here? It must belong to the mummy, so I bet that's his place. Now it's time to track the Cyclops. Keep your eye out and make your best guess. Did you notice this strange object in this room? It looks like a pair of glasses, but it only has 1 lens. Well, that's because it belongs to a Cyclops. They only have 1 eye. So that must be his place. Okay, we only have 1 last creature to identify, a gnome. Here are 2 apartments. Which one does the gnome live in? Did you notice that the mirror in this apartment hangs a bit too low? That's because gnomes are short. He must be living here. Other creatures that have flooded the town are robots. For Halloween, some people started to dress up like them, too. Look at these three people. Can you find the fake robot? Look at their footprints. The robot on the left has human footprints in the beginning that only later change into tire patterns. He must be the fake robot. Let's train your eyes a bit. Here are Halloween emojis. All of them but one has a pair. Can you find the one that doesn't have a pair? Great job! Here it is. Okay, one more time. Now there are even more emojis. Do you see the unique one? Here it is. Good! Now let's proceed. A month before Halloween, Daphne moved into a new modern house that was built in the early 2000s. It was a great house, but Daphne got it for a very low price because it was believed to be haunted. The girl didn't believe in that, so it didn't bother her one bit. On Halloween night, she returned home after midnight. When she walked into her room, she saw a ghost floating there. The ghost looked at Daphne and said, "You know what? You can't live here. It's my house. I've lived here for 100 years and you're making me uncomfortable." Daphne said that the ghost was lying. Why? The house was built in the early 2000s, so it's barely 20 years old. The ghost couldn't have lived there for 100 years. That's right, ghosts lie. It is Halloween night, full moon, all the creepy things, but Eslyn went to an abandoned spooky house in the woods alone. As soon as she walked in, the door behind her got shut and locked. She wandered around the house and found 3 doors leading out, but they didn't seem safe. Behind the first door, there was a werewolf. Behind the second door, there was a zombie. Behind the third door, there was a ghost. Which way is safer for her to choose? Eslyn should definitely choose the third door. Ghosts may be spooky, but they can't do her any real harm. Of course, Eslyn wasn't the only one who went to the house that night. Another student, Colton, dressed in the silver armor of a knight, decided to explore the spooky house too. Just like with Eslyn, the door got shut behind him right after he stepped into the house. He found 3 ways out too. Behind the first door, there was a vampire. Behind the second door, there was a huge dragon who hates strangers. Behind the third door, there was a huge cyclops that would crash anyone who walks in. Which way should Colton choose to stay safe? Luckily for him, he is dressed as a knight in silver armor. Vampires are afraid of silver, so the first way is totally safe for Colton. On Halloween night, Kennedy wanted to spend the evening with her boyfriend, but her dad was against her dating anyone. To go around it, she lied that she was going to trick-or-treat with her friends and promised to be home by midnight. She returned at 11:30 p.m. Yet her dad got mad at her and demanded to tell him where she really was. Wow! How did he understand that Kennedy didn't go trick-or-treating? She returned with an empty candy basket. Outside of town, hidden in the woods, there is a house where a group of friends live. A mummy, a mermaid, a ghost, a werewolf, and a witch. Every Halloween, they eat candy. There are 5 creatures, but this year they only have 4 chocolate bars, and they don't know how to split them equally. Maybe you have an idea? They should split each one of the 4 bars into 5 pieces, and then each creature gets a piece from each bar. This way, everyone will eat exactly 4 pieces of chocolate. Now that monsters and humans live next to each other, let's try to identify who is who. I will be showing you photos, and your task is to find a monster in each photo. Here's the first one. Can you find the monster? Look, this guy's skin is green. He's definitely not a human. Here is the next photo for you. Be attentive. Do you see someone who is not a human here? This girl in the swimming pool is a mermaid. Good job. Okay, here's one more. It's quite hard, but I believe in you. Who do you think is not a human here? Look, this woman doesn't cast a shadow. Now this is not normal for a human being, so she must be some other creature. Great job! Here's another one for you. Which one do you bet isn't a human? This person is carrying a wand. She must be a witch. This is probably the hardest one. You have to keep your eyes wide open. A photo of a local cafe. Do you see something suspicious? Look, there's a glass of blood in the air, as if someone's drinking it. It must be the vampire who's drinking it, but the vampire isn't in the photo because they can't be photographed. Technicalities.
Karen is at a corporate party. Her boss, Mia, brings a bunch of identical envelopes and says, "I personally put the grand prize in one of these envelopes. It's a certificate for a trip to Bali. But no worries, the remaining envelope contains consolidation prizes prepared by our sponsors. Can you help Karen win the trip to Bali?" There's a lipstick print on this envelope. Mia has a similar lip color. She said that she had personally packed only one envelope, so the grand prize should be here. The day of Karen's flight to Bali has finally come. She calls a taxi to the airport. Soon, 3 identical taxis arrive at her porch. But only one of these drivers can actually give Karen a safe ride. Can you guess who? The second car has a flat tire, and the driver of the third taxi is a werewolf. Take a look at his claws. It's a full moon, so he'll turn into a wolf soon. Therefore, Karen should choose the first taxi. Karen's luggage is too heavy, so she goes to the cash register to pay for the excess. Oh no, her card holder is gone. Karen asks 3 people standing nearby, "Have you seen a pink card holder?" The cleaner says, "I found 2 lost wallets today, but none of them look like yours." The cashier says,
I was busy with another customer, so I didn't look around.
and another passenger says, "Don't waste time, honey. Block your cards as soon as possible." Who stole the wallet? Nobody. Karen put it in the fold of her hat and forgot it there. See? On the plane, the steward asks Karen to switch seats with another passenger. Karen can choose one of these 3 seats. Can you help her figure out the best option? This man has very long legs, so he'll probably kick the back of Karen's chair all along. The second option is next to this elegant lady, but she's stealing money from another passenger. Probably not the best company for a long-hour flight. Although the third guy looks like a vampire, it's just a costume. He's sitting by the window, but the sun rays don't bother him, so he's the best option. Karen arrives at a fancy hotel in Bali. The manager shows her the 3 best bungalows to choose from, but only one of them is safe enough. Can you help Karen to make the best choice? The first bungalow doesn't have a door, which makes Karen an easy target for robbers and mosquitoes. And there's a scorpion under the bed in the third bungalow, so she should choose the second one. On the beach, Karen meets 3 ladies who claim to be millionaires and show her pictures to prove it. But one of them is fake rich. Can you guess who? It's the first lady. She's just modeling for an electric toothbrush commercial, so her luxury is artificial. Karen is walking down the shore and sees a party. It's a beach wedding, so the bride and groom don't wear traditional costumes. Can you find the newlyweds among these people? Take a look at the cake. The letters say Harry plus Amy. This lady is wearing a necklace with the name Amy, so she's the bride. And now look at the flower garland around her neck. Only one person is wearing the identical garland, this guy, so he's probably the groom. Karen spots her former classmate, Tom, among the guests. He's talking to a strange lady. The lady is wearing a hoodie and standing with her back turned to Karen, so Karen can't see her face. Tom and the lady leave together and hide from everyone on the roof of the beach restaurant where the party takes place. Later that night, Karen also visits the roof. There's no one else here, but after checking the roof, Karen knows for sure which of these 3 ladies is Tom's secret girlfriend. How did she know? The third lady's dress is decorated with gold sequins. She lost 1 sequin on the roof. Tom sees Karen and invites her for a walk along the shore. She spots 4 weird things right away. Can you see them too? A mermaid is hiding in the waves. This sandcastle has electric lighting. Tree branches flutter in the wind to the right, but the flags to the left. And finally, the moon has a creepy face. The next morning, Karen goes to the buffet breakfast. She wants to get a smoothie, but there's no information about the ingredients in English. Unfortunately, Karen is allergic to strawberries. Can you figure out which smoothies are safe for her? It's all about the color. Only the green and yellow smoothies don't contain any strawberries for sure. Other options are risky. Karen enters a spa center. The manager asks her to wait for 15 minutes. Karen takes a seat and falls asleep. She wakes up after a while and finds out that someone had given her a heart-shaped tattoo. She questions 3 suspects. Bobby, the client, says, "Lady, I've just arrived on my motorbike. If I see any crazy tattoo artists around here, I'll tell you." Leah says, "I've been cleaning the bathroom within the last 30 minutes. And Tony, the massage therapist, says, "Sorry, I was busy with my client, so I didn't look at you at all." Who's lying? Bobby. This motorbike has flat tires, and besides, it was already there when Karen entered the spa. Luckily, the tattoo was temporary, and the massage therapist helped Karen to remove it. but he charged her $5 for his help. Karen arrived at the spa during happy hours when they offer a 45% discount on all services. So Karen paid only $12 for a 1-hour massage. Also, she had a pedicure for $7. When Karen left, she found a $50 bill on the ground. How much money did Karen spend in total? Can you count? Karen spent a total of $24. As for this $50 bill, it's fake, so it doesn't make any difference. Karen brings her clothes to the local laundry owned by 3 sisters. She returns to pick up her stuff in 5 hours. Unfortunately, someone has burned her favorite dress with an iron. Karen gets furious and questions the sisters. Mia says, "I didn't iron today, it must be Pia." Pia says,
Nah, I was planting roses in the garden all day. It must be Gia.
and Gia says, "I don't know who's guilty because I've been away all day." Who burned Karen's dress? It was Pia. Take a look at the garden. Can you see any roses? Exactly. Karen returns to her hotel room and finds a huge bouquet in a vase. The note says, "Love, your secret admirer." Karen calls the reception to find out more. The manager says, "One of the hotel's male guests ordered the flowers, but I can't reveal his name." Only 3 male guests stay in this hotel at the moment: Hans, Jacques, and Will. Karen meets them all at the beach and spots her secret admirer right away. Do you have any clue who it might be? Karen received pink lilies. Take a look at Hans's shirt. It has a print with pink lilies. He loves these flowers, but this doesn't prove anything. Will has a tan line from a wedding ring, and he's taking pictures of his wife surfing. But Jacques is writing in the sand, and his handwriting looks suspiciously similar to the love note. Spotted! Karen and Jacques go for a walk. He brings her to a pier with 3 boats. Jacques says, "If you manage to guess where my boat is, I'm going to give it away to you." Can you help Karen find the right answer? Someone's sleeping on the second boat, but this doesn't mean that the person is the owner. The third boat is called Jacques, but this name is quite popular. Let's take a closer look at the first boat. Can you see the red trousers on a hanger? They match perfectly with Jacques' jacket. Therefore, this is his boat. Atlas woke up in the attic of an abandoned house. He tried to find a way out of the house, but all he could find was a room with 3 doors. Each door hid a different danger. The windows and floor of the room behind the first door were made entirely of the magnifying glass, which meant that sunlight burned anyone who entered. The second door hid a room filled with toxic gas. And behind the third door, there was a hungry lion. Which door should Atlas choose to escape? He should wait for the night to fall and walk through the first door. Sarah accidentally pulled a lever in a science lab and set free a group of mutant zombies. There were 4 people inside, and they needed to escape before the zombies caught up with them. They had 17 minutes to cross the bridge. Sarah was the fastest one. She could cross it in 1 minute. Lab assistant Dawn could get to the other side in 2 minutes. But the janitor and the professor needed 5 and 10 minutes to cross the bridge. How can they get to the other side if the bridge can only hold 2 people at a time? And each group needs to carry the only lantern they have to illuminate the way. Here's how it works. Sarah and Dawn cross first, carrying the lantern. It takes them 2 minutes. Then, Sarah runs back with the lantern. She hands the lantern to the professor and the janitor. They cross the bridge together in 10 minutes. That makes 13 minutes. Don grabs the lantern and dashes across the bridge to help Sarah get across. It takes him 2 minutes to get her, and then they need 2 minutes to return. Sarah and Don arrive safely, just in time to cut the rope. One evening, Beth called the police to report a crime. She told the officer that she had just been robbed and asked the police to come to her house straight away. When the police arrived at Beth's place, they found her tied up in a chair in the middle of her living room. They asked her what happened, and she told them that a masked guy had broken into her house, stolen all her money, and tied her up in a chair. The police immediately arrested Beth for misreporting. Why? Because if she had been tied up, she wouldn't have been able to call the police. She most likely made the whole thing up. Sydney told her mom that her gymnastics team would go to a sports camp for the weekend. She asked her mom to help her pack a bag for her trip. Her mother packed everything she thought her daughter would need. When Sydney came back, she told her mother all about the trip. But at one point during the conversation, she asked why her mom hadn't packed a toothbrush. The mother immediately knew Sydney was lying about where she had really been on that weekend. How did she figure it out? Because Sydney's mother did actually pack a toothbrush, but she put it under Sydney's gymnastics clothes. If Sydney had really gone to the camp, she would have used the clothes and found the toothbrush. Susan can't remember who her husband is. Can you help her figure it out? Well, it must be the guy on the left. Look, they're wearing matching rings. Kimberly discovered 3 bags in an old attic. There was also a note. It said that there was $1 million inside one of the bags. It also added that the other 2 bags were empty. Kimberly only had one chance to figure out which bag had the cash. And only one of the messages written on the bags was true. On the first bag, it was written, "The cash is not here." On the second bag, it was written, "The cash is not here." The last bag claimed, "The cash is in the second bag." If you were Kimberly, which bag would you choose? You should choose the first bag. If only one of the inscriptions is true, then the money can't be in the second or third bag. Ben asked his boss for some time off. He wanted to go on an expedition to Antarctica. His boss allowed him to go on one condition. Ben had to send him pictures every day. And that's what Ben did. He sent his boss many different pictures on his icy adventure. On Ben's first day back at work, his boss fired him, saying Ben had lied to him and he had never been to Antarctica. How did the boss know? Take a closer look at these pictures. There aren't any palm trees in Antarctica, are there? It looks like Ben went to the seaside and forgot to remove the palms from his pictures. Becca came back after a 2-week vacation in Egypt. During her trip, she bought a beautiful emerald and wanted to show it off to some of her friends. She threw a party just for her closest friends, but the next day, she noticed that the emerald was gone. Becca immediately called a detective and asked him to help her find the thief. She showed him some of the pictures she had taken the night before. The detective took a quick look at the photos and almost immediately realized who had done it. Take a look at these pictures. How did the detective find the culprit? Look at the girl wearing a hat. At 1 a.m., her hat is flat. But at 2 a.m., her hat suddenly becomes pointy, weirdly imitating the shape of the emerald. She must be the thief. On a rainy evening, Dylan is driving home. He passes by a bus stop. 3 people standing there ask him for a ride. Dylan has only 1 seat in his car to offer, but he really wants to help all these people. It's an elderly lady that seems to be freezing, a doctor who claims that he needs to get to the hospital for an urgent appointment. And there's also the woman Dylan has a crush on. What should Dylan do to help everyone? Dylan can offer the doctor to borrow his car, but he should also ask him to drive the elderly lady home first. As for the guy himself, he can wait at the bus stop with the girl he has a crush on until the doctor comes back and returns his car. Lily was the manager of a men's clothing store. She was walking around the store when she noticed that a pair of expensive green pants was missing. She went over to the fitting rooms to check if someone had left the pants there. Instead, she saw 3 men getting ready to leave the store. Lily immediately understood who had stolen the pants. Take a look at this image and check if you can figure out which man is the thief. It's the man on the right. He's wearing black pants, but you can see something green peeking from under his pant legs. He must be wearing the stolen pants under his own. Josh was walking through a forest at night and came across an old castle. Pretty soon, he met 3 cloaked figures. When Josh asked them who they were, they answered that they were 2 werewolves and 1 vampire. The trio told Josh that he had made a bad decision when he entered the castle. They also said they wouldn't let him leave unless Josh outsmarted them. Josh had to guess which one of them was the vampire. The guy was only allowed to ask each one of them 1 question. And it couldn't be, "Are you a vampire?" After a few minutes of thinking, Josh asked, "What's your eye color?" He guessed who the vampire was and was allowed to leave the castle. Why did he ask this? And how did that question help him? Vampires don't reflect in mirrors and don't appear in photos, so the vampire probably wouldn't know what color their eyes are.
Ken went rollerblading on Sunset Avenue when he tripped over a rock. He fell down and hurt his head. It started bleeding, so the ambulance took him to the nearest doctor. As soon as Ken was allowed to have visitors, 3 ladies came inside his room saying they were Barbie. They looked pretty, so Ken got really confused. Take a look at the 3 women that say they are Barbie and see if you can figure out which one is telling the truth. It's the woman on the right. Since Barbie is a doll, she can't change her expression. If you look attentively, you'll see that the first woman is blinking, and the second woman has a wink on her face. This leaves us with the last woman, which is the one and only Barbie. After getting out of the hospital, Barbie suggested that they go get ice cream. Ken said yes, so they went to their favorite place. Barbie ordered a blue ice cream, and Ken got a green one. When they were about to eat their desserts, a stranger came next to them and said one of the ice creams was poisoned. Take a look at the image. Can you tell which ice cream isn't safe to eat? It's Ken's ice cream. Sure, it was originally green, but there's a strange smoke coming out of it. It's probably a reaction to the poison. Yikes! Sure looks like someone's after him, huh? One lovely morning, Barbie was driving to work when her sight suddenly went black. She woke up in an empty warehouse. There was nothing but 4 doors in front of her. She heard very loud noises, like there was a monster approaching. She felt like she needed to escape quickly, otherwise she would turn into the monster's dinner. The 4 doors had signs on them. The leftmost door had a sign saying, "Take the door on the right to break free." The sign on the second door said, "It's the right door." On the third door, it was written, "Freedom is just right in front of you." And the last door had a sign saying, "Don't trust the signs." Can you help Barbie? Which door should she choose? Well, there's a bit of wordplay here. Let's see why. While the first door says to take the door on the right, the second one says it's the right door. It doesn't say if it's the correct door, but the right door, as in the door on the right. The third door says freedom is just right in front of you. That just doesn't make any sense, does it? You can interpret that it's pointing to the door just on Barbie's right, and that is it. She should choose the last door. It says not to trust the other signs, but it doesn't say that they are false, does it? Marjorie is the owner of an organic farm. One morning she walked inside the barn and found all of last week's production of apple juice shattered on the floor. She was devastated. This was going to cost her a fortune. She asked her employees to clean it up. Meanwhile, she took the time to interrogate them. Sean, the farm's volunteer, said that he had put all of the apple juice bottles on the shelf before heading home. He said everything seemed fine until then. Becca said she had gone home earlier than usual because she wasn't feeling well. She said she hadn't even gone inside the barn all day. Tom said he had spent the day painting the fence and also hadn't visited the barn. Can you tell who is lying? Tom is the one lying. Take a look at the fence behind them. It's definitely not painted. Linda was staying at a famous hotel where a lot of celebrities live. The glamorous building had 7 floors. 5 A-list celebrities were living on the ground floor, and 8 Hollywood stars were living on the first floor. On the second floor, there were 11 not-so-famous people. Each floor above those had 3 more celebrities living on it than the previous one. All of these people leave for work every day. Can you guess which floor calls the elevator the most? This is a tricky one. It's on the ground floor. Any person staying on a floor other than the ground floor would have to call the elevator to reach their respective floors. Brendan works in the same company as Mary. He's had a crush on her for months and has been trying to impress her in any way he can think of. That's why he decided to take part in the Brain Challenge, a contest his company organizes once a year. By saying yes, he had to answer a bunch of expert-level questions and solve some pretty difficult riddles. For the first round, he had to crack a rebus puzzle. Take a look at the piece of paper they gave him. Can you guess what the answer is? The answer was broken promises. Ooh, nice. For the next round, they took Brendan to a room full of random stuff. His task was to find a specific object. As a clue, they gave him a piece of paper that said, "What goes up when the rain goes down?" Look around and help Brendan find the object. It was that red and white umbrella over there. That makes sense, huh? Then Brendan was taken into an empty room. The room's door was sealed with a letter combination lock. He looked around and found a slip of paper with the following written on it: P plus 3, N 1, B 1, N plus 4, S plus 1. Can you help him figure out the code word? It took Brendan a while to figure it out, but he was able to crack it. The code word was SMART. The key to this riddle was hidden in the alphabet. Let's see how it works. P plus its 3 following letters is S. N, 1 letter is M, and so on. For the final round, Brendan had to solve an AI riddle. If he answered it correctly, he would win the contest's main prize and probably Amy's heart. The riddle said, "I speak without a mouth and hear without ears. I have no body, but I come alive with the wind. What am I?" Can you guess what Brendan answered? The correct answer is echo. Dave, a chief police officer, received a call late one night. Mrs. Brown, a famous chemist from UKC, went missing from her lab. Dave spent a few hours searching her lab and found a note with random numbers. It didn't look like a study she had been doing, so Dave guessed it must be a clue about where she was. The note read 26, 3, 58, 28, 27, 57, 16. Based on the note, Dave managed to find where Mrs. Brown was. He found the culprits, arrested them all, and freed the scientist. Can you guess what was written on the encrypted note and how he understood it? Here's how he figured it out. Each number on the note corresponded to an element in the periodic table. So the element that corresponded to the number 26 is Fe, iron. The number 3 is Li, lithium. And 58 is Ce, cerium. Using this logic, the first line spelled out Felice. By the same logic, the second line spelled out Nicholas. After discovering the names, Dave must have tracked the two people down, arrested them, and discovered where they had taken Mrs. Brown. In a small town, 3 teachers went on leave all on the same day. Janet said she had gotten into a car accident and had broken her leg, so she was having difficulty walking with her new cast. Emma complained that she had a very unfortunate workout and had injured her neck, so she was having trouble looking sideways. And Tina said she had fallen from her bike and had hurt her arm. One of the teachers was lying. Can you tell who? It was Janet. She claimed she was having difficulty walking with her cast, but she didn't even have crutches. She must be the one lying.
April, May, and June are 3 sisters. One day, April says, "Girls, have you noticed that we're all born in the 3 months our names signify, but none of us was born in the month of her name?" "Yes, it's a bit confusing." The girl who was born in May replied, "Who was born when?" Since no one is called their birth month, then April must be born either in May or June. But the girl who responded to her was born in May, so April was born in June. The girl who responded can't be May and can't be April, so she is June. And the girl who remained silent must be May, who was born in April. It was summer break, and Riley's friends invited her to go camping. Riley didn't like camping, but she also didn't want to admit that she'd rather stay at home watching TV. So she said that her parents had invited her to go on vacation, but she stayed at home and was binge-watching TV shows. Her family was sending her vacation photos, and Riley photoshopped herself in one of them and sent it to her friends. When her friends saw the photo, they realized that Riley wasn't on vacation. How? Look, Riley is the only person in the photo who doesn't cast a shadow. Mrs. Collins went on a business trip, and her daughter stayed in the house alone. Of course, the girl wanted to throw a party. Her mother knew it was inevitable, so she gave her permission, but on one condition. There should be no more than 5 people in the house. In the late evening, Mrs. Collins called a neighbor and asked her to check the house. Here's what the neighbor saw when she approached the house. How many girls are partying there? There are just 4 girls visible in the windows, but it doesn't mean that we can see everyone. Let's better count the shoes by the door. There are 6 pairs of shoes, so there must be 6 girls inside. And now here's a tricky riddle for you. There are 4 houses on the street. The red house is made of red bricks. The yellow house is made of yellow bricks. Next, there's a white house that is made of white bricks. And the last house is a green house. What is the green house made of? Well, greenhouses are made of glass. Did you get it right or did I trick you? Mrs. Jones finished cooking dinner and went to the living room to call her triplets for dinner. When she walked in, she saw her favorite vase shattered on the floor. Who did it? She asked, but none of them admitted. Look at the triplets and tell who you think is guilty. It must be this boy in the middle. Look, his hands are dirty and the same stains can also be observed on the shattered vase. Cassidy participated in a game show and she won. She won 3 exclusive gifts: an Apple smartphone, an original Louis Vuitton purse, and a Cadillac. But here's a catch. She is to pick her presents herself by choosing between an original and a replica. Will you help her pick the correct prize? Here are 2 iPhones. One of them is an original and one of them is a replica. Which one should Cassidy choose? This one has the correct logo, so it must be the original. Now, there are 2 identical purses, but only one of them is an original Louis Vuitton purse. Which one? This one, with the correct logo. And finally, a Cadillac. Can you recognize the original logo? This is the one. Evie has always wanted to get a dog, but her mom wouldn't allow her. Once, she found a puppy on the street and brought it home and hid it from her mother. Evie had kept it for 2 weeks without her mom knowing. But one morning, Evie's mom walked into the room and realized that there was a dog living in her daughter's room. How did she understand it? Look, there's a dog bowl and dog food in Evie's room. Amanda lives in a small town. Her favorite artist just announced that she will come there for a concert. So, Amanda needs money to get a ticket. And she decides to find a summer job. She has 3 options. One option is to work on a project in a call center, which will last a month, and she will get $350 in the end. The second option is to work in an ice cream shop, where she will earn $90 a week. The third option is walking the dog of one of her neighbors, and she'll get $10 per day for this. Which job should she take to earn the $170 needed for the concert ticket as soon as possible? A call center is a bad option. It'll take her a whole month to get the money. If she walks the dogs, she'll have $170 in 17 days. But if she works in the ice cream shop, she'll earn $180 in just 2 weeks. That's the fastest option. Esme was having a walk in the forest and got lost. But she found a witch's house. The witch agreed to send Esme home, but only if she helps her first. The witch was making a new potion and needed one of the herbs from the box.
It's one of the big ones with leaves. And not next to the one with the orange flower.
Which one is it? Okay, there are just 3 big ones, so it's one of those. Not next to the orange flower, so not this one. And only one of the remaining ones has leaves, so this is the one. In a big airport, the bags of 3 strangers got messed up. Take a look inside the bags and decide which bag belongs to whom. Okay, the bag with dresses and makeup most probably belongs to this woman. The bag with the professional photo camera probably doesn't belong to the blind man, so it's the bag of the other man. And the last bag belongs to him. Mrs. Lawrence had 3 teenage daughters, Leah, Chloe, and Della. They were all grounded and couldn't leave the house. Still, a neighbor saw one of the girls in a mall. Mrs. Lawrence came home and asked the girls what they were doing. "I was in the house preparing for my history test," said Leah. "I was doing puzzles in my room," shrugged Chloe. "I was gardening," said Della. Who lied? Look, Leah and Della both have dirty shoes. That's not suspicious of Della since she was in the garden. But Leah wouldn't get her shoes dirty if she spent the day in the house with a history book. Ned works in a club, and his job is to check people's ID cards and not let any suspicious people get in. Take a look at these 3 ID cards and figure out who wasn't supposed to enter the club. So here's the first one. She seems fine. Let her in. What do you say about this guy? Don't let him in. The month and date are flipped. He must have a fake ID. Okay, next. Look, in or out? Look, the photo of this young lady isn't made on a white background, as documents require. That's suspicious. So the ID must be fake. Ned shouldn't let her in. Okay, here's the next guest. What's your verdict? He seems fine to me. What about this woman? In or out? She seems all right. Green light. Okay, another one. In or out? Look, the woman in the pictures looks similar to the woman in reality, but she has a different eye color. It must be a different